in D.C. He stands 6'3". He's fighting for you. He's fighting for me.
AM 560 KBLU, Russ Clark with you. Dean Weingarten's here. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Yeah, you made me rush. I get to talking to you and I forget, I better get this computer.
If I
booted.
can make you rush, that's a wonderful thing. Rush was
Rush
an incredible
Limbaugh,
talent.
We're talking about him a little bit before. We have his studio, the EIB studio.
Right.
I think that was either in his house or on his complex where he lived.
Well, eventually.
It did start out there. Correct. It was in New York at one time.
Yes, right.
And he moved south and whatever, and he had the golden microphone.
I think New York became inhospitable to him, which was really sad.
I think
silly.
Inhospitable is a little bit of an understatement.
Yeah. Hostile?
Yeah, I think we get up into the hostile. Yeah.
Which was kind
but
of silly.
They gave him a good send off. They said good riddance. Which is
and he took his income with him,
and that didn't we don't need it. And then as people have left more and more.
Yeah.
And have left businesses. Now it's like, you guys need to stick around.
And the more that leave, the more likely it is for others to leave because the whole infrastructure is shrinking.
Yeah. And then, but on the positive end, they've got a lot more population of those that don't have paychecks.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how they feel that's good for them, but that's
they vote.
Yeah, because
there seems to be a class of politicians that think the only thing that matters are votes, and
puts them in power.
Not correct.
I'm in power, so
right. So what's that old? I forget who said it. It's better to be to rule in hell than serve in heaven.
I don't know if I agree with that completely, but
I don't. But that's a sentiment. Some people view status as far more important than anything else.
Yeah. Well, and I think we've got the results of that now with what's going on in the country. I mean, the divisiveness.
I think
that's all fighting rule. Run, and I say they. Democrats, Republicans. There's a difference.
There is. I think with President Trump, we now have a very clear difference, as Ronald Reagan talked about. Let's not just have lukewarm. Everything's the same. You want a clear difference,
right? And we should listen to Ronald Reagan.
He's a brilliant
especially
guy.
That bit about don't speak badly of another Republican.
I
understand in an election you've got to point out differences. That's different than personal attacks.
Correct, especially in primaries.
Yeah, and that's going on right now with a lot of it. I see personal attacks all the time. And remember Michelle Pena, they went after her, and this was not fellow Republicans, but other Democrats. They spent tons of money from the governor's budget to go after Pena to get the seat back so they could take a Democratic control.
Right.
And it backfired big time. People didn't appreciate the slander and the unfair cheap shots, all the stupid stuff.
And I think that is partly because we have so much more media today, and one party, one opinion, one philosophy doesn't dominate like it did, say, in the 1970s, 80s, and even 90s.
Yeah. Well, there's no blurring between the lines now. You don't have blue dog Democrats or...
You don't have gatekeepers in the media that decide, well, this story we're not going to do and the other one we're not. You can go and find stories. If you're interested, you can find all kinds of interesting stuff that isn't pushed by what used to be the old media.
Do you say the old media changing at all?
Yes. I think they are. I think they're changing in response to this tremendous victory that President Trump had in 19.
Changing for the better, changing for worse?
Better.
Being more inclusive on details.
I think it's happening. Now you have the sort of fringe. What used to be sort of mainline is now becoming more fringish too, in terms of far left, I would say.
I heard a little bit of a story yesterday. I didn't research it, so I don't know a lot of details. But apparently, the White House has put together some informational list of reporters that get it wrong regularly.
What I saw was a sort of a media watch list.
That's it, media watch list. But they're pointing out that this reporter Russ supported the Russiagate for 4 years. those kind of things.
I also thought that they were doing it by like media outlet.
Yeah, CNN, but they're doing individual reporters.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah. Oh, and they're furious about some of it.
How dare you criticize us?
I haven't done much research on that.
We're the ones that get to criticize, not you.
I just heard about it that it was. I think it was Gutfield. It was on Gutfield mentioned it or something.
Yeah,
And
okay.
they were complaining about it, and being outed and all that. That the conspiracy theories that they've all supported for many years and the things they ignored, and those kind of things, which the Trump administration put on it. They just outrageous. They would do that. They just come from the White House and all that kind of stuff. But the last administration, the White House actually didn't go to that extreme. What they did is they put FBI agents at social media to make sure that the things that they wanted done on social media.
And they did it sort of more on the sly.
Oh, it was secret.
We people there at Twitter. Now, there's these people that you're allowing to have a voice. We think they should be damped down.
Yeah. And apparently those were regular meetings. And
regular emails with all the records on it. It really happened. It's a direct violation of First Amendment.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, it is. Because it's government entity directing the speech.
Well, and it's worse because it's in secret, so you don't know, so you can't.
But see, Trump is completely transparent, put it out there, said these reporters did this.
Right.
And you put the facts out. It's kind of hard to argue with the facts. You're just arguing with you shouldn't put it out. Not that they're wrong.
I think there's a long history of presidents complaining about bad press.
Oh, only since the founding fathers.
Yeah, I recall something, a quote by Thomas Jefferson: "The only worse thing than the newspapers is not having them."
Well, and a lot of the founding fathers that helped build the Constitution, later became in power, were breaking constitutional rules because the press, they wanted to do something like the press can't do this. You just put it in the Constitution, dude. Yeah.
Well,
but I understand that. I understand
there's a big difference from being outside of power and being in power.
I think so.
And I mean, it changes attitudes.
I can't tell you exactly, but I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it's human nature, and this is something I think the left downgrades all the time, that there is such a thing as human nature. And I think human nature can change, but on the order of thousands of years, not in a generation.
I got something that's confusing me, Dana. You just straighten me out. I don't know where this is going. Donald Trump, and put out again on True Social, he doubled down, and he writes on True Social, "I'm going to fully and completely terminate any document signed by former President Joe Biden's auto pen, including pardons and commutation." Now, does he have the authority
We'll find out.
to do a pardon? And I haven't seen, and it's
what this is from is that there's a lot of controversy and a fair amount of evidence that President Biden may not have been aware of some of the things that were done with the auto pen. And if you can show that he was not aware, that he did not approve them, then they're invalid.
Well, we've become aware because even the people in his circle were complaining about it at the time, that they needed confirmation.
Right.
And that wasn't always readily coming.
Right. So I think, I don't know exactly. I mean, President Trump is given to hyperbole. It's not one of the traits that I find most attractive about him, but he goes to hyperbole. I think it's a negotiating tactic in a way.
And yeah, read the books. It'll tell you part of it is. But it's not unserious either.
No, correct.
He'll absolutely do it.
I think that he will do it for some, but maybe not all. Auto might depend on date, might depend on evidence, and of course, the president's power is limited by the other branches of government.
And everything's vague on this a little bit. I mean, and some of it's just straightforward, like pardons from the president is just he may pardon. I mean,
yeah, he has absolute power. Now, when I say absolute power to pardon, that's only for federal crimes.
Correct. Yeah, and that's why supposedly it's been accused that the Democrats went to district attorneys in states to go out.
Well, we know that happened. We have some evidence that there was collusion between the White House and some.
I guess a lot of it.
Yeah, quite a bit.
There's but Trump said that 92% of Biden's documents were signed by the auto pen device, and over 160 executive orders were signed during the Biden administration, and 92% of those are all with auto pay. Now, I don't think he can just rule it.
Well,
Right.
for executive orders, he has complete authority. You can reverse previous presidents.
but not the pardons. I mean,
Pardons are much more controversial,
yeah,
and I think I would say, well, do we have evidence that somebody decided to pardon these people without President Biden's authority?
there's been accusations.
There have been accusations, and there's been some hint of improprieties,
Yeah,
payoffs,
yeah.
things like that.
That's all out there. I don't know how much of that's true, but it sounds true. I mean, Biden seems like
it certainly sounds plausible.
Yeah, plausible
And
for
so
sure.
I would say that what could happen.
Well, here's something that makes it even more probable. He only signed 8% of the executive orders, and probably less than 8% of the pardons. He signed Hunter Biden's personally.
Yes.
But he didn't sign the others. He didn't sign Fauci. He didn't sign James Biden, his brother.
What I think would happen is that Trump would say this pardon is not valid. The DOJ is going to prosecute for something. And then it would go to court.
Yeah. But I haven't even read a commentary on it. I'm kind of curious. I thought there would be some constitutional scholars coming out and say, well, this is ridiculous because you can't because of this. I haven't seen anything written on it.
Right. We probably will.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
It's going to have to. In fact, it probably surprises Trump because he made that announcement weeks ago that he was going to do it. Do this, get rid of anything with an auto pin. Nothing happens, and so he's doubling down. He had to do it again. Like, are you guys listening?
yeah.
I told you.
Which makes you think that there may be a larger strategy involved
From the Democrats?
No, from President Trump.
Why are the Democrats screaming?
Well, I think that a lot of what I see with President Trump is almost like he's baiting the other side.
Possibly.
I mean, he's trying to get a reaction from them for a deeper game. And if they don't react, well, then he's doubling down to get the reaction.
But you would think at least Tim Walz from R. Kelly would be saying,
Well, maybe they were.
It's
not a good idea.
Well, Tim, I think is a blessing for the Republicans every time Tim Walz opens his mouth.
Generally.
And again, that's going to be according to your opinion and all that kind of stuff. But I think he just looks so buffoonish.
Well, because of what we saw during the presidential campaign.
Well, and because of what I saw last week.
Well, yes. I'm surprised. Frankly, I would not have thought that Minnesota would elect a Tim Walz, but they did. At least that's what the election results showed.
I read a great opinion piece the other day on Minnesota, and I guess I didn't really understand the Somalia connection in Minnesota on the power of the Somalia connection. But they represent like 15% of the population, and at least in Minneapolis.
Yes, in Minneapolis. I think you're right.
And they can sway with 15%. They sway. You can't win without them in Minneapolis, and you can't win the state without Minneapolis. And that was an opinion piece, of course.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And that's why nobody questions it. Nobody wants to be called a racist. Nobody wants to do any of that.
Well, Minnesota's a deep blue state. It's a pretty. I know there were times it trended toward more purple. I mean, Trump didn't lose it by that much in the 24.
He probably didn't get the Somalia vote.
I don't think he got the Somalia vote. But he's also talking about deporting people who are here on kind of provisional status.
I think he has spooled up that rhetoric as well as Bondi, as well as others.
Well, and we see that there's been tremendous abuses. And I've heard of this for quite a while.
Some of it is still surprising to me. The abuses in Minneapolis, abuses or Minnesota or whatever, are so obviously. I mean, to any looking at the books, when these giveaway programs, start doubling, quadrupling, 10 times what they were just 4 years ago, something. What's causing that? What catalyst is there? And they're recruiting people to be autistic.
Yes. No, that was part of what was going on. That was a scam.
And then paying parents a kickback for allowing us to abuse your child by labeling him as autistic.
Well, I don't know if children were abused because of that.
Well, not yet,
It
but
was a scam. It was a way to channel money from the federal government to people who were just abusing the system.
Well, and that's key. It was federal government. It's not just local government. It's federal.
Yeah, it was
And-
federal money mostly.
Yeah, because it's reimbursement. States run the program.
Yes, and so that, one of the things that does is that it creates doubt in the mind of federal legislators if it's such a good idea to allow states to run programs that then get abused and they siphon money off, or some of the money is supposedly have gone to Islamic terrorist groups.
They suggested Minneapolis or Minnesota is the biggest, but by no means is it isolated
Right.
to just them. And then with that knowledge the other day when my fact checker told me that the NGOs been climbing 15%. I'm not talking about 15% in growth, 15% of new NGOs every year since Clinton. And Clinton kind of started putting them on. I thought it was always Obama, but Obama goosed them. But
Well, when you find out that something is works as a mechanism to take money from the public treasury and put it in your own pocket, well, people learn.
well, it's much simpler through the NGOs because the NGOs can say, okay, we want to do a bid to give money to illegals to help them for the first few months or so, process and whatever, and then they bid on it. They get it, the money gets appropriated, and then they can tell the NGOs, now give everybody $500 and or $5,000, whatever they want to do, and then when you go to the White House and you say, well, Joe Biden, I've heard you're giving people money across. Never do. I don't give any. We don't give any money to them. Well, the NGOs do. And it's federal money.
Yes, right.
And it's because they want a grant to support and help.
And generally, the people who run these programs do very well.
Well, they take a tremendous percentage for income and for contributions back to the Democratic Party.
Oh yeah, a lot goes back. It's like school teachers unions, I should say, that I'm familiar with in Wisconsin. When the Governor Walker there was able to pass legislation so that the state did not have to accept the teachers unions health insurance program. They could have other bids for it, and the cost of the health care for teachers in Wisconsin, I think it dropped by more than half. And the additional money was then allowed the teachers to get pay raises. So it was win-win for everybody but the teachers unions and their bogus health insurance company that cost twice or three times as much as any other.
But probably was supporting the system.
Well, what would happen is that the legislatures would push for more benefits money, whatever, for teachers unions particularly, and then the teachers unions would donate a large amount of money to the legislatures who voted for that stuff. So it was there was no check on the system to see.
Yeah.
And so and the cost of the education programs in Wisconsin, I'm just going to put a guess because I forget exactly, but I think it was something like 40-50% of the state budget.
Oh, I don't know.
A large
in the state of Arizona, education is more than half.
Yeah, so this doesn't is not too surprising if it was from Wisconsin, and it was because a large part of the system was built on this. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours with the teachers unions and the Democratic Party generally.
I just got this from my fact checker, Edward, that, and I knew this, I guess I knew this was coming, that Trump formally pardons former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez. And according to his attorney, Trump has announced his intention of granting a full and complete pardon to Hernandez last week in a move that erases a major U.S. drug trafficking conviction for a one-time U.S. ally. Hernandez has been released from prison, according to his attorney. A U.S. Bureau of Prisons database also shows the former Honduran president was released from prison in West Virginia. I didn't really understand the background of that whole thing. I listened to some of it, that this guy, Juan Hernandez, claims that the evidence against him was manufactured by political opponents.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
So I'm thinking that It probably has President Trump's ear to listen and investigate because he's been a victim of that.
I think what President Trump here is doing is trying to rebuild trust in that if you're an ally, we'll stand by you.
Yeah.
And this Honduran president, I'm suspecting, was more conservative than whoever replaced him.
I don't know much about it. I haven't done a lot of research on it, but it'll be interesting to see what comes of it. Let's take a phone call here on the air.
Hey, Russ, how y'all doing?
Doing well, G. Good morning.
Listen, in this breakdown of first, so we're talking about the 54 million non-resident illegals
Okay.
in this country. What involvement does the Royal Institute of the International Affairs and the CFR has? So much well, you look at the membership, and you can pull up the membership. You can pull up the membership of the CFR, but it's hard to find the membership of the Royal Institute. These are British agencies now.
Okay.
Are you all aware of that, right?
Well, Royal Institute sound like a British agency, but
Well, they are.
Yeah.
Well, they are.
So is CFR CFR is Council for Foreign Relations or what?
Yeah. Yeah, the CFR. Are you kidding me? This is the first time you've heard of this acronym?
No, I've heard it, but I'm not sure if it's the same words.
Is a model member of this outfit. All you gotta do is bust the roster and look at that. You would be amazed how many congressmen are members of the CFR. This is the British conglomeration that is ruining our country right to this day. It's not like an agency born yesterday. This is not a conspiracy either. The Royal Institute of International Affairs, look at that, folks, on your computers, if you will.
all right.
And you'll be on the speak here. Because we're just talking over stuff here. Now, John Adams said himself that the United States Constitution was written for a moral majority of a Christian country. He said that. For all others, he said, does it work so well? So why are we tolerating Muslims? Because if you go back to the McCarran Wolf Act, the one that I love, that was written in 1952, LBJ killed it. LBJ is a practicing communist, is what he was. I survived him. Well, I'm 84 years old. I remember his war on drugs. Pete Hegseth has just continued his war on drugs. And that same Democrats that created the war on drugs are want to fight Pete Hegseth. People, we need to get our freaking name, our history at work for us here.
Oh, it's all about power right now with
I don't know that. There you go with that power thing.
Sure.
It's always about money and power, Russ.
Of course. Of
That's
course.
the essence of what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
It's
So,
about money and power, period.
but it's great that you mentioned the hypocrisy of it. Like, what do you really stand for? Well, I mean, obviously they stood for against drugs at one time. Now they're like upset that they're stopping drugs, but it's about who's doing it, about the power, which is ridiculous.
Okay, you turn 54 million non-citizens loose on this country.
Yeah.
And you have an agency that declares sanctuary cities, which is called, I call them the Democratic National Communist Party is what I call them. And you go and look at the 1954 Communist Control Act. George Soros must be in jail for violating some of these laws because the communist is not legal to register here. It is not, never has been, to be a registered communist in the United States. There's no place to register. But yet they hide behind, of course, progressive, liberal. That's all they do.
Or socialist.
And even our side, Russ, we keep calling them the far left. Just call them what they are. They're a bunch of freaking communists. Maduro, who is he? He's an unelected freaking dictator of Venezuela. He's not and same way with Zelensky. Zelensky stopped his own election, so he's a dictator too. Trump is getting away from these dictators, and we are sitting here like, oh, gee, we're just visitors for tourists. We're just passing by the Gulf. Give me a break. We're not passing by. Each boatload of those people that start blowing up, it saves probably about 25,000 lives of American lives and sitting on.
Yeah, that was Trump's quote. Yeah.
Well, he got that quote from his own national security, Russ.
Sure.
That's a Trump's.
Well, that's where I heard it, but I don't know where the source is. But that was Trump's quote.
Yeah, we keep putting him on Trump's back like he creates this stuff. He's got a government national security agency.
Yeah.
And he gets all this information. He's got his, as a matter of fact, the Justice Department, the Attorney General. Look up who they serve. They supposed to serve the president and his cabinet members. They're not like Trump doesn't have an attorney. Anything that he wants to do, he has to consult. He can use it and consult his own justice department. That's what they work for.
I don't disagree with any of that. I don't think me stating that he quoted it was a disagreement with you at all. But
What?
what about the 25 million? I mean, it doesn't matter. I know he's got sources. I mean, I believe his number.
We have 54 million non-citizens in this country that are dispatched suddenly to protest our deportations. And that's not being addressed, but yes, sir.
Yeah, I know. And I think it's working against them. I think it's resulting in a lot of people being taken out of the country.
No. The media buries this stuff before the public gets a hold of it. Now, Russ, you know that.
Well, yeah.
I'm trying to motivate you to know that the media is blocking you too.
I don't think that escapes me, Doji. I don't. Okay. Hey, I gotta go to commercial, my friend. I do. I'll be right back. AM 560.
This holiday, treat yourself to the gift of travel.
A new RV from the Great American RV Roadshow Super Sale this Thursday through Sunday for the first time ever at the Yuma Fairgrounds.
Shop and save at one of the world's largest traveling RV sales.
Explore millions of dollars of new and used inventory with aggressive end-of-season holiday clearance prices.
Deals this big move fast, and so should you.
Don't miss the Great American RV Roadshow Super Sale.
Thursday through Sunday at the Yuma County Fairgrounds.
Presented by RV Country.
So Pure Talk is offering unlimited talk, text, and data on a crazy fast 5G network for just $29.95 a month for life. Not your phone's life, your life. This top-tier plan is normally $65 a month, but if you switch today, you'll save over 50% every month for the rest of your life. You might say it's the deal of your lifetime. Just dial pound 50, save row, offer expires 12/7. Some restrictions apply. Details at puretalk.com.
If a Lenovo computer for your business is on your holiday list, don't shop around. Go directly to the source, Lenovo.com. It's your last chance to get exclusive deals on the PCs you want for your business, like the ThinkPad X914 Aura Edition and Yoga 7i 2-in-1. So avoid all that shopping chaos and price comparing, and just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com, for PC at 35% off. That's Lenovo.com.
Lenovo.
There's a man in D.C. He stands 6 foot.
Hey, I'm 560 BBL. You started with your beans here. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to turn your mic on. Well, I'm glad to be here. That's it. You got me as a technician. There you go. I'm still on journey.
I figure I'm constantly learning.
It's starting to work out. It's starting to. I've got a couple of guests coming or calling in. Rodney Glassman will be calling in at 7:05, and he's running for Attorney General. And I think he's articulate. A little background on him, so you know, because ask him hard questions. But a successful lawyer, JAG officer. He worked for Grijalva, though, many years ago, and I went to breakfast with him, with Russell McLeod, the two of us. I went to breakfast with him because he was trying to do a fundraiser. He was a Democrat at the time, but he wanted to reach across the aisle, so he wanted to talk to some Republicans. So we sat down and talked for quite a while over breakfast. I did not support him at the time. I thought it was really wordy working for Grijalva.
Yeah, I mean, right off you go,
You know, he's kind of like a lead guy for Grijalva and all that. Now, he didn't win whatever election he was running for or whatever, but he's never quit. I mean, he stays in it, but he changed parties shortly after that breakfast that I had with him. No,
you're so influential.
No. That's all. No. I mean, he's talked to thousands and thousands of people. But which was interesting. And I followed him and was skeptical when someone changes.
Sure.
But that's been it's been many years ago, and he's run since, and I've become more and more interested in him and talking to him more and more. So he's going to be in at 7:00 today, or talking to us at 7:00 about his attorney general. And I think he would be a big improvement over Chris Mays.
I suspect you're right.
I think so. And he's got tons of courtroom experience, tons of JAG officer, and he's a private attorney now too, and successful. And it's amazing to me. And I talked to Tom Horn yesterday, who was the attorney general one time, and now he's a superintendent for public instruction,
Right.
for the state. And he's not a young man. He's more your age.
Right. Oh, really old.
Man. and he takes a pay cut to go do this. So this is strictly a great service to the state of Arizona, and a great service, which we appreciate. Not everyone appreciates him. I do. I like him. And he's going to be today with Rodney at Lutz at 3:00, which I'm going to go.
So Tom Horn is the old man who took the pay cut.
He's a school
supervisor, right? Okay. But
Rodney would be doing the same. I mean, private practice pays more.
Well, if you make it, there are a lot of attorneys that just barely make it.
Oh no, he's prominent.
Yeah, I'm just saying that my understanding is that the law schools turn out more attorneys that then can make a good living in the United States.
A lot of people that law schools put out don't go into private practice. You work corporate. They do a lot.
Sure,
of
there's
stuff.
a lot of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
But
they don't all hang a shingle.
And my information may be a decade or two old, because I had some close friends of mine who were attorneys, and they basically said they were starving with private practice, and then they went to work for the government. They made a decent living.
All the attorneys I ever hired never starved. I fed them very well.
Yeah, but that's the ones you hired. How many were out there that you never got home?
Yeah, well, there's many I would never hire.
Yeah. So so let's see, Mr. Glassman.
Yeah, Rodney.
Yeah. So is he also, an older statesman type?
Young man. I mean, he's not very. I would imagine 40s.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
that's a little younger than I am.
And Tom Horn is supporting, which is kind of weird, because Tom Horn's running for re-election and actually helping. I think he's the campaign manager for Rodney at the same time.
Wow.
I guess he's got plenty of free time. That's what I accused him of yesterday.
Yeah, those type of jobs are pretty intense.
Got so much free time out there, and he's an interesting guy.
Tom, yeah, I've supported him. I think Tom has done a good job.
Yeah, we had a party at my house one time when I was married and living in Mesa del Sol, and he was a guest of honor. And he came in and played the piano. He is an excellent.
Wow,
that was a highlight. I looked at that piano and I said, I didn't know you could do that. I know that piano could do that. There's
a lot of talent out there.
A lot of talent out there that comes from different places. And then 7:30 we have Jim Faffigan, the Conservative Caucus, which we've been very fortunate to have him.
He always brings up very interesting stuff. He's got good sources.
Yeah, and he's on a national level.
Yes,
and I don't know. And he comes from the political side and doing the caucus, and I imagine he's going to end up back doing something political at some point. I don't know.
I expect so.
But usually these are more springboards to keep doing this. And with the amount of research and things that he's got at his fingertips now, doing this on a national basis. And he travels all over the place with other politicians, including the president and stuff. So
sure,
it's great to have him on. So we got a great 7:00 hour anyway.
Right.
I don't know what the rest of it's going to be like. West Virginia is restoring exclusion of religious reasons for school vaccination exemptions. And I guess I'm confused on the religious exemption, like what it means in the United States.
It's been controversial since they started mandatory vaccinations back around 1910 or so.
Yeah.
And it's always been this power play between your right not to have the state force you do something and public health. And it was one of the first places that the progressive movement really won. But they didn't have a complete victory. There were things like the religious exemption that were included.
Well, the COVID thing that we all lived through within the last few years really surprised me at how much religious exemption was absolutely ignored.
Oh, absolutely.
We don't care.
It was
the military, particularly, was brutal.
it was pretty bad.
And people lost careers over it.
Yes, absolutely. And some of those people are being reinstated
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, when they got an opportunity, they said, amazingly, not a lot are coming back. They moved on.
Yes, right.
But they had opportunity for
It was one of the things that I saw under the both Obama and the Biden administrations, where I saw very talented people leaving the military because of the politics.
Well, and a lot of people came in when Trump was, all of a sudden you started hitting numbers, recruitment numbers, and everything.
Right, absolutely.
The West Virginia, though, is restoring it. Now, what I get from this story, and obviously the state has a lot to do with it. The state. Some states have religious exemptions. So, how can that happen? That's not a federal controlled.
Well, there used to be this thing of, separation of powers between the states and the federal government. It was a thing.
It was. It was.
I think it's coming back.
It is. Well, apparently and it's confusing in West Virginia because the Board of Education allowed the religious exemption for vaccination when Circuit Court Judge Michael Frobel, in a class action suit, and he put an injunction that children whose parents refuse state vaccination requirements on religious grounds would be allowed to attend school and participate in extracurricular sports. And as soon as he did that, then the school board says, okay, then we'll follow the law, and we're going to allow the religious exemption. Well, shortly after that, it was superseded by another ruling.
Was it a court ruling or legislative or
suspended by the board after, I think it was another court ruling where they stopped it, so they put it back in immediately. So it sounds like there's no real direction and precedent on this. Judge Frobel, his injunction that children whose parents refuse a state vaccination requirement on religious grounds would be allowed to attend school and participate in extracurricular sports. And that's when the board reinstated it. And directive will be effective until the Supreme Court issues further guidance. Apparently, they're looking for further guidance. But of course, that all suspended. The vaccine mandate was suspended by the board last week. Forbes ruling, which stated the state policy prohibits parents from seeking religious exemption, violated Equal Protection for Religious Act signed into law in 2023 by Republican Governor Jim Justice. Then West Virginia was among a handful of states to offer only medical exemptions from school recommendations from Governor Patrick Morrisey, also a Republican executive board early this year, allowing religious exemptions. Two groups sued to stop it. Legislation that would have allowed the religious exemption was approved by the Senate and rejected by the House delegation early this year. And then the ruling of the failure to pass legislation not determine the application of the law to be sent over to Frobel. See, I don't know. But now it's been West Virginia reinstated. Oh, this is about them reinstating it. That they reinstated the kids. No, they're allowed to do it right now.
So was this court action, or was it? We saw the one attempt to codify it into statute failed.
Yeah, it failed. But no, the Circuit Court Judge Michael Frobel, he had an injunction against.
Right, and so the judge is saying, "Look, this is a right that exists under the Constitution, and your legislation." May or may not have an effect, but it doesn't prevent people from exercising their rights.
Sorry, I was saying it's gone, but no, it's back in.
Yeah,
but it goes back and forth.
Right, and this is, I mean, for over 100 years, this has been a point of contention.
Yeah,
as to how much of a religious exemption there is, and they may require some proof. You actually have attended church in the last month or last 6 months or something like that. You can't just say I have a religious exemption because I look at the star once in a while.
I know some very religious people in the military, pilots, that were told we don't care.
Yeah,
and lost careers.
Yes, which was wrong.
Yeah.
But it shows what can happen when you have an authoritarian government in power. And from my viewpoint, the Biden administration was very authoritarian.
You started talking about Maduro a little bit,
Yes.
or was that OG? I get
You mentioned-
the two of you confused. Marco Rubio has been talking a lot about him, obviously, because there's so much. I don't know what's going on there.
Well, I don't either, but it appears to me that the Trump administration is applying pressure to the illegitimate regime that is in Venezuela. I think it's been widely accepted across much of the world that the election was fraudulent. That
But that's not the reason for the interference. The interference is about the drugs or about the drug trafficking.
well, I think it's part of the whole picture.
Yeah.
And so what I think the Trump administration is doing is putting pressure on the regime to have a regime change.
Well, the pressure includes B-52s,
Yeah, a lot of
aircraft carriers,
a lot of pressure.
blowing narco boats out of the water.
One of the first things that occurred to me is, has there been some sort of backdoor tit for tat? Well, maybe we'll back off a little bit on Ukraine and you stop supporting Venezuela, something like that.
They offered him, to leave the country.
Right.
If you resign, we'll leave things, let things go. But he's hunkering down, apparently changing his address and doesn't have any cell phones. Nobody knows where he is. And
and all of that is pressure. And, it was somebody said that a plane that he had used in the past went to Brazil. They didn't know who was on it. So there's all kinds of speculation out there about what's going on with this.
Rubio says that Maduro's machine is not a legitimate government. What it is a transparent organization that allows cocaine and other drugs that are produced in Colombia to be trafficked through Venezuelan territory with the cooperation of elements of the regime are allowed to leave Venezuelan airplanes and ships headed towards the United States.
Yeah, I think that's all true.
I think everybody knows that.
I also read this morning that Russian tourists have been asked or told by their government that they ought to leave Venezuela.
I think China, though, said they're going to support Venezuela.
Well,
and is that just?
I'm not sure what the latest is.
I don't know what that means about support.
Well, they've been buying Venezuelan oil, and they have been supplying some arms. There's supposedly a factory being built in Venezuela to manufacture small arms ammunition for rifles and maybe other things. I don't know how close it is to completion. I remember quite a few years ago that they built a factory to produce their own version of the AK-47.
The word from I've been listening to a lot of the commentary on this is that they're in serious financial trouble.
Well, yeah,
they can't really continue a lot of the shenanigans that they're doing without some input of cash, which they don't appear to have any way to produce it.
Well, they destroyed their oil industry.
Yeah.
When you try to run oil manufacturing and refining based on politics, it doesn't work very well.
Well, they nationalized all of it. They took it away from the oil companies.
Well, right, and then they said we're going to promote this person because he's politically reliable, not because he knows what to do.
And the oil industry's been in decline.
Yes.
They are not at their peak performance.
Correct.
Because they don't have the expertise, and the oil companies aren't coming back to throw money at it.
Well, because they got it taken away.
It was taken away.
But I understand that they are exporting some oil. I don't know how much, and a lot of it is going to their political partners, which include Brazil, China, Iran, Russia, the usual authoritarian suspects.
Rubio says the president has authorized a counter-drug mission in the region. The fact that Maduro is upset about it tells you the drugs are coming out of Venezuela now. When the counter-drug mission, we all know about the boats. There's been speculation that there's going to be some land base, which is, that's a big step. I mean, that's into territorial.
As I recall, there was a announcement by President Trump that he had authorized the CIA to operate within Venezuela.
Yeah, it came out a while ago. Yeah. So I don't know exactly what I mean. And I don't know if that's healthy for CIA agents within Venezuela to announce that.
Well, my assumption would be that there were some CIA assets in Venezuela already.
Yeah.
But so announcing this has the effect of putting more pressure on the current regime.
Yeah, but there's also pressure on that CIA agent in Venezuela watching the TV and seeing that address. I hope they know I'm here.
Well,
Yeah.
I think any regime
They
would
know.
be wise to assume that other regimes have agents within their polity.
Rubio has been wonderful to watch, and from all appearances, has been tremendously effective in his position.
I have been impressed.
Yeah, he says if you want to make a deal with him, Maduro, I don't know how you do it. He's broken every deal he's ever made. Maduro has made 5 deals with different parties over the last 10 years and has broken every single one of them. Now that's a big condemnation coming from one of the deal makers of the United States.
Right.
Yeah, it's like can't trust him. Maduro asked Biden that his nephew's convicted drug traffickers be released from U.S. prisons. He asked his chief money launderer be released from U.S. custody before he stood trial. In exchange, he promised to hold free and fair elections. He got the nephews back, the drug dealers back. He got the bag man back. He never did free. He never did get free and fair elections. I didn't even know those deals went on.
You know, I hadn't heard of them either.
I didn't know. That came from Rubio's office, it looks like.
He's in a position to know
that was a Rubio
some of
quote.
those deals.
That was his quote. He said they suckered Joe Biden. They're not going to sucker Donald Trump.
Right. Which is why we have, the aircraft carrier and group down there. What is it? The Ford?
The Ford's down there. Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of the most, I think, our most modern and largest aircraft carriers.
I
a lot of combat power.
I would tell you the actual capabilities of the Ford, but I don't think they really release all that. I probably has more than we would imagine.
I know that for a long time, and I still can't. I don't think they give you the maximum possible speed of things like aircraft carriers and our ships.
Like cities.
They just don't tell you because they want that to be somewhat hidden.
Right.
For good reasons.
Oh, I would think so. The Rubio at the, they had their 9th cabinet meeting. So 9th.
Oh, in public, huh?
Yeah. And, well, the 9th one at all.
Okay.
But that's 9, and his first year's not even over. I don't remember how many Biden had, but I don't think he had one in this last year.
I don't remember. But he was far less transparent than President
But
Trump.
Rubio praised President Trump, and I think that's a good move when you're in a cabinet meeting.
Oh, I would say so. But you look at the people that Trump has in his cabinet; they're very talented, very bright.
It's the real deal. I mean, they're the A players, really.
Right.
He said it's the most transitional years in foreign policy since World War II, despite the difficulty of dealing with Maduro, and that's what he told Trump. He said Trump will continue attempting to work it out. The president is a unique figure in modern American history. He's prepared to sit down and meet, talk to anybody. But at the end of the day, there has to be somebody that you can actually make a deal with. We made a deal with the Chinese, but Manero's never kept a deal. That doesn't mean the president won't try. I guess there's a theme there from Rubio.
Yeah.
Like, how do we make a deal with somebody that's never going to?
Well, I mean, he's perfectly willing to make deals. He just never keeps his word. So what's the point?
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, how reliable is he with his allies? With Russia and China and Iran and Brazil.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's not reliable with us, maybe he's not been reliable with them.
One would think.
Well, I don't know.
That China's not stupid. I mean, they're.
No, I mean, I think I don't think Putin is stupid either. In Iran, I think their method of thought is so alien that what may seem reasonable to them might seem stupid to us.
Yeah. Somehow we had a lot of static going out over on our social media.
Oh, that's not good.
Somebody reported it to me, which is good. Somehow the station, the app I used, turned your mic back on when I had it off. What it does is it gives a dual signal because your mic is tied into mine.
Okay.
And then it does it separately too. It's kind of You get
So does that mean I should just stop talking?
No, I've already fixed it.
Okay.
You should have stopped talking a half hour ago. We'll be right back. AM 560.
Tis the season for cozy nights, holiday movies, and full houses. So make sure your internet can keep up. Allo Fiber brings you lightning fast 100% fiber optic internet that doesn't slow down when everyone's home for the holidays. Check them out at allofiber.com. To be a part of Russ's show, call 928-344-5258. That's 928-344-5258.
At Exceptional Community Hospital, we are redefining what emergency care should feel like. Fast, personal, and compassionate. Our experienced ER physicians and staff are here 24/7 to care for your unexpected illness or injury. Don't wait for emergency care when you can be seen in minutes. With short wait times, you'll get the prompt attention you need because every minute matters. And if your recovery takes longer, we provide the inpatient care you deserve. Exceptional Community Hospital. Compassionate care. Exceptional service.
So Pure Talk is offering unlimited talk, text, and data on a crazy fast 5G network for just $29.95 a month for life. Not your phone's life, your life. This top tier plan is normally $65 a month, but if you switch today, you'll save over 50% every month for the rest of your life. You might say it's the deal of your lifetime. Just dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe. Offer expires 12/7. Some restrictions apply. Details at puretalk.com.
AM 560 KBLU. Russ Clark back with you. Dean's here.
Glad to be here.
Okay, I checked. I wasn't looking at my phone. I probably got 10 messages that there was static going out over the air. Double feed. Remind me, Dean, check my phone.
Oh, okay. So was that on the broadcast or social media?
Media.
Okay.
Just social.
Well, since I don't know, but it could be that a majority of your listeners are on social media. I don't know.
Right now it's only 100. At least that's what the computer says. I don't know what to trust.
Yeah.
I don't, because this is going through a third party, so I don't probably get all the kickback.
Sure.
All that kind of stuff. Trump says that the Americans may soon pay no income tax.
Soon is an ambivalent term.
You don't like that. Soon may be better. Never later.
Yeah, I think President Trump is referring to the potential of this golden age that we can be moving into. And if we look at that sometime maybe 5-10 years out, it may be possible to not do away with the income tax without serious bad consequences. I mean, the problem is that we have this enormous debt.
Right.
And we have to figure out some way to pay off that debt without destroying the country. And because if we don't pay off the debt, the country gets destroyed anyway. So, but with the enormous technological advances happening now, everything from SpaceX to artificial intelligence and all the permutations thereof, we may become so productive that we won't need an income tax. So I think it's a possibility, but I think it's further out than. Well, I wouldn't say soon.
I like what he writes in here. It came up at the cabinet meeting, and he says at some point in the not too distant future, you won't even have to have income tax to pay. And he argues the revenue and the government is collecting under the administration is now so great, so enormous.
This is News Talk 560 KBLU, Yuma.
To make America affordable again, Linda. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and President Trump plans another way to bring more prices down like he says he already has on a lot of things since returning to office.
The word affordability is a Democrat scam.
The morning after the president said that at a cabinet meeting, Fox's Nisha Hasni reports from the White House.
We are expecting to see the president at 2:30 later today as this economic push continues. He's going to have a big announcement in the Oval Office, reportedly about new fuel efficiency standards aimed at bringing car prices down.
Democrats think affordability is an issue in a special congressional election in Tennessee, but a Republican Matt Van Ness prevailed. I will work hard to earn your trust. The Van Ness victory keeps the vacant House seat Republican, giving the GOP 219, 213 House majority. Together, will bring down the cost of living. EV Democrat Afton Bain by 9 points. And when she called to congratulate Van Ness, she urged him,
do not let the Affordable Care Act subsidies expire. Do not let healthcare costs for working families in Tennessee.
those subsidies expire at the end of the year for millions who have Obamacare coverage. A week after the ambush attack on National Guard members on patrol in Washington, D.C., killing one, seriously wounding the other, there is fallout. The suspected gunman, who pleaded not guilty to charges, was hospital bed yesterday, is an Afghan national, and now President Trump's immigration applications from Afghanistan and 18 other countries under travel bans and restrictions in June.
Existing applications to live and work in the U.S. are on hold for citizens of those countries. Already scheduled final interviews for citizenship and citizenship ceremonies are canceled. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service Agency announced last week a pause on all asylum decisions, and the State Department is halting visas for Afghans who assisted in the U.S. war effort.
That's Fox. Wall Street is day 4 of the manhunt in Georgia. Convicted prisoner who escaped from behind where Timothy Shane was being treated after attempted suicide while behind bars. Americans listening to Fox News. Meet Bob. He's 63 years old. He spent 40 years as a body man and car painter. Bob heard me talking about Relief Factor and decided, give it a shot. Bob ran in, he said, Glenn, I could barely walk. I couldn't make it up the stairs. Day 4 or 5, I began to feel the change. But after just 8 days on Relief Factor, I'm 75% better. I'm comfortable, and I'm thoroughly impressed. These are the kinds of transformations that are common with Relief Factor. In fact, 2 out of the 3 people go on to order more month after month. I'm one of those people. I wasn't banging on cars all day like Bob. My pain was in my hands. It was debilitating nonetheless. I couldn't paint. I couldn't write. Quickly losing hope. And I feared the rest of my life I just have to live with the pain. So if you're living with daily aches and pain, Relief Factor might be the real deal for you. Try the 3-week quick start today. It's only $19.99. See how it works for you. Visit relieffactor.com or call 800-4-RELIEF. 800-4-RELIEF.
From the News 11 Information Desk, I'm Juliana Calera. The Yuma Fire Department responded to a fire that burned down a trailer. The fire happened on 2nd Street near Avenue A. The backyard of someone's home. YFD says there was one person home, but they were not injured. After extinguishing the fire, they were able to confirm that the trailer did burn down. YFD says the cause of the fire is still under investigation. Plus, the Farm Film Festival is coming in downtown Yuma. The festival is set to highlight Yuma's massive impact on the world agricultural landscape. People will be able to learn more about this technology and this driving economic industry. It will also show how Yuma supplies over 90% of America's leafy greens during the winter months and other important statistics. The festival will take place on Thursday, December 11th at the historic Yuma Downtown Theater. Catch us on TV Saturday on News 11 every weekday at 5, 6, and 10 p.m. for your latest local news, weather, and sports.
There's a man in D.C. He spent 63. He's fighting for you. He's fighting for me. He'll bring that swamp, just like you say.
Hey, I'm KBL. You park with you. Dean's in studio.
Glad to be here.
I know I have line. I'm you, Rodney.
It is.
Hey, I just text you. Are you calling? It's a little early. A few minutes, a few seconds earlier. 7.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, Russ.
Good to hear from you, man. I hear you're coming on today.
We are actually going to drop the girls off at school in Phoenix and then hit the road. We can make it in time for our get together at Goose Casino this afternoon at 3 o'clock.
How old are the girls?
15 and 13.
Oh wow, that's a handful.
Yes, I called Russ Barkley for his birthday yesterday morning, which I've been doing since I was 22, which means I've been doing that for 25 years, and it made me feel old.
No, that's only because you are. especially if you have daughters that have, independence and their own personalities and all that stuff. It's a fun task, but it can be a big one. It can be overwhelming.
It is during COVID, I really learned that the job of a father of daughters is to role model the expectations he wants his daughters to have in a husband.
Well, I think that's a good way to go at it.
And it makes it a very a heavy lift because that means my wife is always right. Always right.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, you've set yourself up for that. That's good. So what do they think about knowing that Dad's running for Attorney General?
You know what? We live in the city of Phoenix.
Yeah,
it's under policed. We're a school choice family, and they see both their mom and I going out and working hard every day to try to afford nice things for our family.
Right.
And so the idea of running and serving in the job that can protect our law enforcement, protect our kids, and protect Arizona's prosperity is truly a family affair. Because think about it, we live in a state right now, Russ, and you know this, where because of Republicans like us, President Trump won by over 5 percentage points.
Yeah.
But we also live in a state with a liberal attorney general that thinks that boys should be able to compete against my daughter Rose in swim. That thinks that that private property owners should be able to decide what they want to charge in rent to tenants, and someone who truly hates police officers. And so our daughters are now, it's exciting because they're old enough to understand the importance of protecting police and the importance of having strong schools. And they see me getting in the car, driving across the state. They get to see me riding around with the Maricopa County Sheriff who's cheering my campaign. And sometimes they come with us because they're excited about the idea of having a dad who can protect our way of life.
Well, good. Maybe they can get you the youth vote.
It's frankly, Russ, when it comes to Attorney General, it's about educating everyone. I'd be willing to bet there's farmers in Yuma that don't know that the Attorney General runs the largest law office in the state and provides all the legal services for every state agency, including the Department of Agriculture. I'm sure there's home builders down there that don't realize that I'm running to be the lawyer for the Registrar of Contractors. And I know for a fact, because I was down at the Yuma Medical Center last time I was down in Yuma with your sheriff, Liam Wilmot, that most doctors don't realize that I'm running to be the lawyer for the licensing boards and the Department of Health Services. Over 400 attorneys and 1,000 support staff. So it's not just about educating our youth. Frankly, it's about educating our adults.
Yeah. Well, I think you do an excellent job of educating people on what the Attorney General is really responsible for. I've been watching elections for a long time, but I think you go above and beyond to make sure that people understand the job. And it's more massive than I think is comprehended by voters, really.
It is. I've been married for 16 years to my law school sweetheart, Sasha. In fact, it's funny because I've been involved in the agricultural community so long that Eileen Dunn, Tim's wife, can tell you all of my girlfriends before my wife, Sasha. Because I have friends from Yuma that I've been friends with longer than my wife.
Wow.
But the reality is I call the Attorney General the wife or mom of government. Because if you think about it, remember during COVID when the government shut down all the gyms and all the restaurants?
Yeah.
The only elected official that would have had the power to sue over illegal executive orders, the Attorney General. The only, and that's why Tom Hatton, who's the founder of Mountainside Fitness, the largest fitness company in the state, and the chair of the Goldwater Institute, he's one of my biggest supporters because private businesses know when they should be opened and when they should be closed, and we need an Attorney General that knows that. Remember when the teachers union tried to double up state income taxes?
Mm-hmm.
There was only one elected official that could have sued to keep that off the ballot, the Attorney General. And so if you have an Attorney General like we have now, liberal Chris Mays, who hates ag, who hates business, who hates kids, and who hates cops. She's funded by the teachers union when we are the state, on the cutting edge when it comes to school choice, educational savings accounts, charter schools, all that good stuff. And so it really is, it's the most impactful job. But if you don't educate people on the why, they don't get it. It's no different than, we talk about agriculture. Most people don't know, 80% of the lettuce that's consumed in the United States, between Thanksgiving and Easter, comes from you until you explain it to them.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they're like, wow, agriculture is important. and so it really is, it's an educational process. And that's why I'm excited about, coming down today. We'll be at Roots with you from 3 to 4:30 with one of my campaign co-chairs, the superintendent of public instruction, Tom Horn, who, as you know, because of the debacle of 2022, in Arizona, a Republican state where President Trump won by 5 percentage points, our highest ranking Republican is our superintendent of public instruction. But we're going to be down there, and then we're going to be down visiting with Russ Jones and Robbie Barkley in the business community afterwards. And so it's always exciting to come down to Yuma, since I've been coming down since I was 22, so over 25 years. I love it down there.
Well, Tom, in fact, I spoke with Tom Horn yesterday, and he's got a lawsuit going on right now that the attorney general won't take, which is her job to take, but she has discretion, so he's having to use education funds to work on a law school about boys being in girls sports and stuff.
It's pathetic, but just like we were talking about, running the largest law office in the state with 400 attorneys and 1,000 support staff, most Arizona parents don't realize that the Department of Education has no attorneys.
Right.
Those are all assistant attorney generals as well. And that takes us to knowing about the job really allows Republican voters to drill into our Republican primary, because in our primary, we've got a choice between myself. I'm a lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force JAG Corps Reserve. I'm assigned up at Luke now. When I put on my uniform, I run the active duty legal office with over 25 JAGs, paralegals, and support staff. And I'm the backfill for the active duty lieutenant colonel. And then I've been a practicing lawyer for almost 20 years now. My primary opponent he's a termed out state legislator, got his law license 21 months ago. So never practiced law, never had a case, never prosecuted. And if we nominate someone who's objectively unqualified on the Republican side, we're just going to get 4 more years of Chris Mays.
I got some hate mail from somebody. I don't know who it was, but it involved you, believe it or not. As a politician, I know it shouldn't surprise you, but it may. But it says you work for the communist Raul Grijalva, and was a henchman for Raul Grijalva. Nasty little thing. But it's true that you worked for him.
25 years ago, when I was in grad school. Yeah, it's funny because the only knock on me that we've heard on this campaign is, number one, and this, I've ran for office before, so I'm not a quitter. I finished second in the Republican primary in 2022. Beat a very intelligent Supreme Court judge, beat a wonderful woman whose grandpa started the Ping family golf business, beat an assistant U.S. attorney, beat a former congressional nominee, and then we lost to the Trump endorsed candidate. But the other knock on me from my Republican primary opponent, which is probably who's putting people up to hit us, is that like President Trump, like President Reagan, like Tulsi Gabbard, like Burgess Owens, like Lauren Broberg, like Rudy Giuliani, like Howard Lutnick, like our former Sheriff Joe Arpaio, like probably many of your listeners, I left the Democratic Party. I left the party June 16th, 2015. I registered Republican the day that President Trump came down the escalator, because I saw a businessman who was speaking and saying what he was seeing. And remember, Russ, the Democratic Party that I was a part of in 2002 when I first drove into Yuma has gone insane. And so yes, that is all true. Just like, so anyone who didn't vote for President Trump and didn't vote for Ronald Reagan probably won't want to vote for me either.
Well, hey, but take them if you want to. That's fine. If you vote,
we need a bigger tent. That's why I'm focused on. You know, you look at how did President Trump win Arizona by 5 percentage points? It wasn't by alienating people. It was by inviting them to the Republican Party. It was by talking about the issues that are important to us: law enforcement, kids, protecting jobs, economic development, being able to articulate the issues of construction and agriculture and labor. I mean, President Trump's done an amazing job of securing the border. When I was down there right before summer with your sheriff, Wilmot, and our Maricopa County Sheriff, Kerry Sheridan, we did a border tour, Russ. We drove the border, and but the three things that were most staggering to me: number one, no more surges. No more, hundreds of illegals running across the field.
Right.
But Sheriff Wilmot crossed over, reached his hand into the riprap on the Mexico side, and pulled out a Gambian passport from the rocks.
Yep.
A Gambian passport, and shocking, but not shocking at all, because that's the porous border that Joe Biden and the liberal Democrat policies created. But then we went driving further, and we came across a 9-year-old Guatemalan girl sitting by herself on the American side. She had been brought over by some trafficker and left there to be picked up by Border Patrol. And neither your sheriff nor my sheriff speak Spanish, so I had the chance to speak to her and find out where she was from, Guatemala, and where she was going, West Palm Beach. She had spent the night before in a hotel. She said she didn't know with who.
Wow.
And that is, as a dad with as we talked about, with a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old, 2 teenage daughters,
right.
The look in her eyes, the stoicism, the story that we didn't get to hear of her journey, was both pathetic and shocking. And you look at what's going on. I'm a big election integrity guy. And as you know, the person in charge of investigating and prosecuting election fraud in Arizona is
the Attorney General.
The Attorney General, exactly. But the biggest fraud that the Democrats are trying to do right now is the open border policy to get illegals into our urban centers so that they can reweight the census.
Right.
That is the biggest election fraud going on right now, because what happens at the border doesn't stop at the border. They're trying to drive these illegals into the urban cores so that when they redraw the lines, they don't want the census to count just legal citizens. And so that's an issue that I continue to champion across the state to once again educate voters on what these Democrats are trying to do. Because going back to the Yuma Medical Center, when I met with their CEO, instead of suing President Trump to make sure that girls have to compete against boys, imagine if we had an attorney general that was going after the federal administration to recoup the $20 million of unreimbursed services from the Yuma Medical Center. Wouldn't that be a better lawsuit for our tax dollars?
I think that'd be better for our community too. I think so.
It would be tremendous for the community, but we have an attorney general that's not willing to do it, and we have a Senate president, my opponent, that turned out legislator that's never practiced law. We have him funding the liberal Democrat budget to sue the administration. So it's a real mess, and that's why we're traveling the state with the sheriff, with Superintendent Tom Horn. That's why I love to take any questions that we have. That's why I'm hoping that people will come out to Lutz today from 3 to 4:30 to visit with you, to ask us questions, because they can visit our website at rodneyglassman.com. They can sign my petition. I'm asking everyone to consider contributing $28, $1 for each of the 28 lawsuits that Chris Mace has filed against the Trump administration.
That's an interesting number. Rodney, I appreciate it. And I will see you at 3:00 today at Lutz Casino.
I always appreciate the opportunity to visit with you, and I really appreciate you investing the time to come out because everyone loves you down there, Russ. And I know there's no hate mail about you. So come on out.
Yeah, that's
we'll,
right.
we'll grab a Diet Coke, and we'll
Okay.
get a chance to talk some more about protecting our state.
Thank you, sir. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, and he really knows. I mean, nobody hates me.
No, of course not. But I did find it interesting that he brought up the lawsuits because you see Arizona amongst all the leftist states in the country. And it was a shocker to me when I see Arizona attorney general submitting lawsuits and amicus briefs on positions that are exactly opposite what I think they should be.
Oh, and that's the times where I'm kind of like embarrassed to be from the state of Arizona when we see the state of Arizona pouring so much money into let's go after the Trump administration
Right.
on
Exactly.
frivolous stuff.
Exactly so.
28 lawsuits. That's a lot of our tax dollars, energy, and time. Lawyers going after them.
And it's just meant to take up time. Those
Well,
lawsuits are not generally serious.
I don't think it's meant to better the state of Arizona.
Well, from my viewpoint, it is not.
I don't know what they all are, but I doubt. One of my listeners says Rodney who? Rodney Glassman. Rodney Glassman. He's the one running the lawyer. But you get a chance to see him today at 3:00 if you want to. Go ask him all the hard questions, or you could ask Tom Horn hard questions. Now he's currently the superintendent of public instruction for the state, and is also in his own campaign rerunning for that seat because he has he has plenty of spare time. Let's get that all done. I'll be right back. AM 560 KBLU.
Listen to KBLU from 8 to 9 every Monday morning to Life, Death, and the Law. Sean Garner and Adam Hansen discuss estate planning options. Learn how you can plan your estate using a will or trust to protect your family and secure your legacy. That's Life, Death, and the Law every Monday, 8 to 9 a.m. on 560 KBLU.
What's up, Yuma, and hello, Russ Clark Show listeners. Johnny Porter here, and I just made the switch to Aloe Fiber, and it's a game changer. Lightning fast speeds for streaming, working from home, and gaming. No buffering or slowed down speeds. It's time to ditch the glitch and switch to Aloe Fiber.
This holiday, treat yourself to the gift of travel.
A new RV from the Great American RV Roadshow Super Sale this Thursday through Sunday for the first time ever at the Yuma Fairgrounds.
Shop and save at one of the world's largest traveling RV sales.
Explore millions of dollars of new and used inventory with aggressive end-of-season holiday clearance prices.
Deals this big move fast, and so should you.
Don't miss the Great American RV Roadshow Super Sale.
Thursday through Sunday at the Yuma County Fairgrounds.
Presented by RV Country.
Sunny skies today, high of 70 this afternoon, 10 to 15 mile per hour winds, gusty to 20 at times today. Partly cloudy at 49 tonight, sunny at 69 on Thursday, 10 to 15 mile per hour winds again out of the north, 42 and mostly clear tomorrow night.
This is as real as it gets. Get up, get kids up, feed the dog, feed the kids, out the door, work, pick up kids, dinner, bath, bed, repeat. You strive all day to make life better for them. So why not make life better for you? Get strive-free checking at Avenir Financial. No frills, no fuss, no monthly fee. Open a strive-free checking today at avenirfinancial.org. Certain restrictions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
Hey, Yuma, it's DJs for PJs time. That's right. We're on a mission to collect new, warm pajamas for families in need. Swing by our radio station or Avenir Financial at 1780 South 1st Avenue and on North Frontage Road in the foothills or any local Little Caesars Pizza and drop them off before December 14th. Every pajama helps bring a little comfort this winter. Let's come together and make sure everyone in Yuma has something cozy to snuggle up in.
There's a man.
AM 560 KBLU, Russ Clark with you. Dean's here.
Glad to be here.
And do not call in if you're not Jim Pfaff with the Conservative Caucus. He'll be calling in. here in the next minute or two. He'll be calling in very shortly. I got cut off when I was talking about the income tax thing, that Trump says that Americans don't pay no income tax. Now, he's been saying this before. It's not the
He's
first time.
mentioned it, yes.
Yeah. And he's floated a tax plan eliminating income tax for individuals earning under 150,000, which, like you said, it would, it has to be incremental or whatever. And actually, we've got a certain level of income where people pay no income tax.
Yeah, I don't know how much is paid by people who make more than 150,000, but I think it's a substantial amount.
Sure it is. But then there's,
I mean, it might be more than half of the income tax being paid now.
Maybe, because it's the middle class that pays the bulk of the income tax. It's not.
That's true, but there's a lot of people in the U.S. who pay almost no income tax.
And he says that the income tax that elimination will be replaced by tariffs. The tariff money.
Well, the U.S. used to run on tariffs.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Income tax is a messy business.
It is, and part of the problem with the income tax is it puts so many burdens on people about their decisions. And so when the income tax starts being used as a social policy measure, it makes the whole economy less efficient.
Yeah. Well, and you're taxing income, so whatever you tax diminishes.
Right.
So we don't really want to diminish income.
I wouldn't think so.
We want income and more of it and be productive.
Right.
And I remember growing up and my dad saying something about, well, I don't want to make more money. I'd be in a higher tax bracket or something, which was a fallacy, but nonetheless, it was a common understanding that you're punished when you make more money.
Well, and one of the problems is that people start expending more time figuring out how to avoid taxes than how to produce wealth.
Yeah. That can, avoiding taxes is producing wealth in many people's book. I would imagine Edward would tell me that.
Well,
because he's a finance kind of guy, and his strategy is going to include the income tax always.
Of course, because especially as you get into the upper levels of income, the income tax becomes more and more important.
Yeah, and he starts talking about tax advantages, which as soon as they put the books out on what the income tax is going to be and what the deductions are and all that, the guys that are highly successful like Edward, they take that to produce strategies on what they will do in the business world. It directs business.
Well, we have a huge class of people that make a good living as being tax experts.
Yes.
That study the tax.
And I don't know, he would
figure out how to minimize your legal requirements. One of the things that I've been fascinated about with Donald Trump is that they examined his taxes and found out that he was perfectly legitimate.
I know. Yeah, because there was always that thing on the left that conspiracy theory that he doesn't pay any income tax, or that he's doing something stupid and all that. And one of them leaked. Somebody leaked one of his years.
Right. And they found out that he was perfect. He had paid all necessary taxes.
There was nothing there except deductions. Wasn't it Hillary Clinton in a debate said something about his deductions? He said, that's because I'm smart or something.
Yeah, which is true.
Because I'm a good businessman. Of course, I don't pay more than I need to.
Right.
And that's what they do.
Yes.
They make sense. But it's a whole cottage industry that we've developed that's really non-productive. It's not producing wealth.
Exactly. It's producing ways to avoid punishing taxes.
Right.
And that's effort and production that could be used for other purposes.
Right.
That could produce, better business in other areas.
Many people have floated the flat tax idea versus all the complexities.
Right.
You just say pay a percentage of your income, whatever it is, raw income, not whether you have a mortgage or whatever it is, just pay it.
And
that would be cheaper, save tons of time, reduce our IRS and accountants and all the other stuff.
That's the idea. Yeah. And it probably would, because the income tax is incredibly complex.
Oh gosh, it's so complex the IRS doesn't understand.
That's right. And I think I've seen surveys done of like 100 or thousand attorneys or whatever deal with taxes,
Yeah.
and they say, "Here's this person's position. What do you come up with taxes?" And they come up with multiple different results
Right.
because nobody knows for sure exactly what is what. I mean, they have pretty good ideas, and some people pay more tax than they may have to. Uh, so the complexity takes a lot of time and effort that you don't that isn't really productive in the economy.
I know they've had people in the past that have called the IRS helpline and asked for tax
Yeah,
advice.
they
and
get different results.
They get the wrong advice at times.
At times.
Still,
Now, something that I've noticed is that we're really kind of close to a flat tax now when you take Social Security and Medicare taxes into account. Because if you add those to the lower levels of income tax, and then once you get to a certain level, you stop paying Social Security and or not Social Security, but Medicare taxes. And when you add them all together, it's kind of close in the neighborhood of like 30% of income. At the very lowest level, it doesn't apply. But that when you stop paying like Medicare after a certain while, it helps flatten things out. But you still have the incredible complexity.
I went on Napa Auto Parts, and I had a lot of employees who would ask me advice or something. And I had a young lady that worked for me one time that came to me and says, my taxes are done, but I don't think they're right. Could you check them? Which I don't mind.
Okay.
I'll take a look at it. And I said, well, what's the problem? She says, well, there's this thing called earned income credit. It says I get money back even though I didn't put money in. It was a couple grand or something.
Yeah.
Right. She was a single mom.
Yep.
And they call it earned income, like you earned it.
Well, it's at least one of the reasons it's called earned income credit is it only applies to people who are actually working, at least some.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, she was working and a nice employee. Good job.
And it's an incentive to work.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the idea.
Yeah, versus an incentive to not work, which some of the programs
absolutely,
unfortunately, do. Incentive not to get married, incentive not to work.
Right. There's, incentives matter. And if you tell people you're going to get lose money if you start working, that's not a good thing.
I've got a phone call. Let's take it. You're on the air.
Hey, it's Jim Paff.
Hey, good to hear from you, sir. How are you been?
Well, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I got a list of topics. Where do you want to start, Jim?
Well, let me disabuse everyone quickly of the fact that the relatively close result of the election last night in Tennessee, special congressional election, doesn't mean anything.
Well, that's not what the Democrats are saying.
Back and say, hey, this was a plus 22 district, and he only won by just under 10, and that doesn't matter. Just so everyone knows, even though everyone's going to say something different.
Well, actually, the chairman of the Democratic Party is out there celebrating that in that district they only lost by 9.
And I want him to continue to celebrate, because on situations like this, it's very useful that he celebrates, because I want him to fall asleep at the wheel. So that'll be perfect. Listen, these special elections are important as far as they go. I mean, obviously, you've got to go out and win them, because that you'll have a problem if you don't. But the worst problem is the fact that people will interpret these things like they got a big old win and life's good for them. I mean, I think it's an absurd notion. I've so many times seen Republicans do the same thing, where they're touting a big win in a special election that is a low turnout election. Most people aren't sitting around every day wondering if there's an election coming up, unless they know it's the 2-year election in November. So, no, I think the 10 points proves that this is still a red district, and in the future, you're going to see that same plus 22 result in future elections.
And I just want to mention, I'm talking to Jim Pfaff with the Conservative Caucus, but the Democrats are also pointing out the elections won, the victories from last month, which they're screaming is a mandate or a wonderful thing, and it shows the trend that's going to happen in 26. What do you say about that?
Well, part of the reason they're saying that is because what happened in pretty deep blue states just a few months ago.
Yeah, exactly. It was blue, but they feel like they outperformed, I guess. I have no idea.
Listen, it is really hard in a special election to know if someone outperforms because the electorate is so different. No one's anticipating an election coming up, particularly a special election, by the way. That makes it even worse. Like in Virginia and New Jersey, they know elections are coming in November of odd years. But they still are lower turnout because presidential elections are always vastly greater turnout than elections in the midterms between presidential elections. Now, that is, if I have any concern about this next November, it's the fact that Donald Trump won't be on the ballot. And there are issues around that. But I do not, and I don't think anyone should interpret either what happened in Virginia, New Jersey, or in November, or what happened last night as some evidence that Democrats are about to take over the world, because that's not necessarily the case. I think it's a spurious, conclusion to come to.
We got some guys on YouTube and stuff that are analyzers that are analyzing the 26th election already. If it were run today, it's kind of hard to go that far out. And there's a prediction that the Republicans hold on to the seats. Of course, I always find them entertaining and look at. They don't really mean a lot other than a picture today, and we know everything changes so rapidly. What do you feel the 26th election is going to be? And historically, it's not good news. Historically,
no, it isn't typically good news. My prediction right now is that the Senate is almost a lock. Like nothing's ever a lock. Obviously, you got to play this out, but the numbers are not good for Democrats in the Senate. I think the chance of keeping the Senate is pretty strong. There are a few things that could happen that might change that, but at the moment, I don't see them as very serious. What I think is a possibility is that Republicans could lose the House. That is still a possibility. But again, I would maintain that Republicans are in the driver's seat because if Republicans in Congress decided that they actually wanted to implement the Trump agenda and message that and talk about that for the future and talk about the fact that we're going to continue this movement that has begun under Donald Trump moving into the future, then I think the American people would embrace that. But they're just really bad at that. And as I've said on your show a few different times, the least part of the Trump agenda is Republicans in Congress. So that's a very real thing. Well, and so I'm concerned a little bit. I still think that it's in Republicans' hands if they want to go grab it. That's the point I'm trying to make.
The Democrats seem to have picked a theme that they're happy with, and that's just the cost of rent, the cost of living, cost of groceries, those kind of things, and just beating those up versus "I hate Trump" message, which seems to be a better program for them. And it looks like that's what they want to go with is that at least that's what they did in Tennessee and they did a month or two ago, and got some positive results from that. How do and under the Democrat Joe Biden, inflation and all those items that they're championing were horrible.
Well, I see no evidence that there was any penetration on that message in what happened in Tennessee. Okay. I just the numbers aren't there. I'm not saying it wasn't there in any way, but I don't see the numbers at all. What I do think happened is you've got a turnout issue and people can sleep at the wheel. And, don't forget, while Democrats were touting all this supposed energy that was going to bring this radical, nasty socialist across the finish line and win, people were also saying, "Oh, it's the Trump plus 22 district." So what you're messaging something else to voters that isn't always immediately evident. And in this case, that is that it's a Trump district, so everything will be okay. I mean, that was constantly talked about. So December, like how often do people in this country have to deal with December elections? The only places that happens are a couple states in the South that do runoffs after a regular election. It's just not a very common thing at all. So the fact that he won by 10 points and that with some effort the turnout did come in tells me that, in my opinion, that Republicans, if they will just put the effort in and run a very real campaign in all these districts, then they can win. So I see it as a net positive, although obviously Republicans can't sleep at the wheel. It takes real effort to win elections.
I want to change the subject to the auto pin. Now, Trump came out a few weeks ago and said the auto pin was illegitimate and it needs to be undone. Then yesterday he doubled down, did it again, and say he's going to undo auto pin type programs. Now, executive orders, he can just undo it or executive order, but when you start kind of talking about pardons, doing that, and I haven't heard a lot from the left or any challenges or any like outrage about it or whatever. And I don't know the mechanism on that, and I don't think it's ever been discussed or said, or there's no precedent. Where does it go from here?
There's very little precedent on this issue. Let me tell you where this all came up, where it became a big issue, is during the Obama administration with the TARP plan. They were going to pass this massive bank bailout, and Obama was overseas, and he wasn't there to immediately turn the bill around. And the DOJ made an opinion that he could use the auto pin for that. And that was, to my knowledge, that was the very first time that any such thing was envisioned. And the argument at the time was that, well, he's giving his very obvious approval to this. He's very publicly approving of the bill, and he's stating specifically to his staff that I'm approving it. So therefore, the DOJ said that we could do this. So that's where this kind of began, because this is not a tradition. Of course, we didn't do. Congressmen have been using auto pins to send out constituent letters forever. We even did auto pins in the 2 congressional offices that I ran for letters going to constituents. We never envisioned anything with either member of Congress that I worked for that they wouldn't physically sign the things that actually had some teeth and that really mattered. So I have a real problem with any use of an auto pin at all. I think sometime we need to make a judgment on that. In the interim, what's going to happen is this. There is no precedent at all for the amount of auto pin usage that was perpetrated by the Biden administration. Nowhere near. And I'm not just talking about the 2,000 plus whatever commutations. You still had hundreds of other auto pins outside of where Joe Biden had said, hey, listen, everyone that meets this class of prisoner, I'm going to pardon.
Right.
Okay, well, you might make that argument. You can't make an argument, and I think it's a weak one, but you might make it. You can't make an argument for the hundreds of other decisions and items that were taken. So this is a serious issue, and there's going to be court challenges to the pardon reversals. But I think that Donald Trump, in my opinion, is in his rights to reverse those, because we also know that those pardons were strategic, trying to exonerate people who were literally behind a massive conspiracy to overthrow an American president. And so I think it takes on a serious nature. And I think the American people and myself, and I think the 3 of us are convinced that Joe Biden really wasn't president in some significant way. And so that all needs to be reversed. I think it also puts into question some of his judicial nominations, by the way, too, which is a weaker argument, but is an interesting and intriguing one.
Somalia. I've been shocked reading about some of the problems with Somalians in Minnesota, Minneapolis, some of the stealing of federal money under the eyes of Tim Walz and all that, and it grew so rapidly. These funds that were giving out $20 million all of a sudden went to $100 million, and it became obvious it was something changed, something was different. But I don't know what it took to catch all this stuff, but it's just rolling in. And Trump is angry at it. I mean, he looks like he's perturbed and took away a lot of protective rights for Somalians, which wasn't that many people, but Somalians as a whole, and talked about deportations. Where do we stand on this whole Somalian issue?
Well, listen, this is an issue we've known has been bad in Minnesota for a long period of time. And people have been crying out about this situation for years now. Yet it has been ignored and shoved under the table because you're supposed to be Islamophobic if you have a problem with these people coming in. general immigration issues. And one of the big arguments against it was because the assertion is what came to be known as replacement theory. And Tucker Carlson was pushing this a lot when he was still on Fox News, and others as well. Is that we're having this flood of immigrants coming in, and the reason is to find voters. The Democrats said that is not true at all. Because America is an immigration nation, and we're the melting pot. Which, by the way, they're arguing against the melting pot right now because they don't want assimilation.
Correct.
But anyway, back to the point. This Somali issue is really out of hand because what started as, frankly, a very real replacement effort, voter creating effort, to maintain that, it has been necessary to fund these people living here and to give them everything that they need to be able to survive and live. And so that's why you're seeing this kind of money going out. But then there's one more real nefarious part of it. And that is, and this particular instance is very real in this regard. This is a payback for political friends. This is literally a wealth transfer of American tax dollars to go into the hands of preferred political people who help out everyone, who was getting elected. Tim Walz, particularly in this example. Keith Ellison is part of this. We know that he's part of this whole scam now, or at least tangentially so, because he was making promises to these people along the way. This is a massive, massive issue. I have been saying this is the tip of an iceberg. This is the tip of an iceberg, because there's a tip of the iceberg that we all see from through Doge and Elon Musk's efforts and even Donald Trump's efforts to reveal that we have got a real problem with government spending, USAID and all this sort of thing. We already know there's a tip in the iceberg. This is the tip of that iceberg. But what we really need to be talking about is the iceberg. This is such a massive wealth transfer from the American people to political operatives to keep Democrats in power that we need to expose it for what it is. There should be no reason any NGO gets any money from the federal government ever. The only payment to private entities from the federal government should be when something directly is coming back. So, for example, a defense contractor builds an aircraft, we pay for it, and now it's government property. Those are the only private transfers that should be happening. There should never be any of this kind of money going to NGOs, because we now know that it's a money laundering scheme that was devised by Barack Obama and implemented through Democrats, and frankly, with the help of some Republicans also.
My understanding, I got a report from somebody yesterday or the day before that NGOs really started blowing up during Clinton, and they've raised 15% more NGOs every year ever since. And 23%.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Listen, the whole Clinton Foundation story gives you a bit of a background on this. And some of these transfers have gone to the Clinton Foundation. Let's just be candid about it. The Haitian situation, where supposedly Bill and Hillary Clinton worked out money going to Haiti after their massive earthquake. They killed a bunch of people that never went to anybody.
Right.
So, yes, this is, it did begin somewhat in the Clinton era. You know what an NGO is? This was devised by the UN as a scam to move money from that was coming from countries putting money into the UN to political actors around the world. Like, this is not a brand new thing, but Obama put it out on steroids. It happened somewhat during the Clinton administration, but it's Obama who put this out on steroids. Now, we need to radically transform this. It's a bad problem.
Didn't the big beautiful bill take some of the NGO wind away?
It did. And also the rescissions package, which was a modest one of $9 billion that was passed by Congress. That took out NGO money as well.
Of course, it's a drop in the bucket considering the tremendous growth in the last decades in NGOs is phenomenal.
We're talking hundreds of billions of dollars. I mean, keep in mind, we should be in an uproar of what's going on in Minnesota, and that's not just federal money. There's state money involved with that, too. But just take a look at what Lee Zeldin revealed to us right after he became EPA administrator, that Stacey Abrams was going to get $2 billion out of the EPA last year And she just rolled up this nonprofit, for the very purpose of receiving that $2 billion. It was literally a transfer of $2 billion to a political actor for political purposes, under the auspices of we're going to help people get more effective furnaces and stoves in their houses. That was what that scam was, was a very similar scam to what you're seeing in this Somali situation. What were they seeing? 40,000 kids, and they didn't get a dime of it, but that's what they were putting on the report.
Nobody goes to jail for this.
Would have done too.
They don't go to jail. No one gets prosecuted. I mean, if you do this in the private industry, it's stealing.
And there's no way to validate where this money went. Did you see the recent video with Elon Musk where he was talking about at Doge, the fact that one of the major changes that they put in place, which I hope is fully implemented in every government entity, is that you cannot make a payment without reference to some specific past piece of legislation that authorizes the spending. They weren't even doing that. I don't think a lot of people know that the Defense Department cannot, through audits, account for up to $2 trillion that it's spent. Now, that doesn't mean all of that went to waste, but there's no accounting for it. You would go to jail if you had a public corporation, and you could not account nearly to the penny all the money that you spent in that corporation. I mean, the people who will send you to jail, meaning the government, for not having your books right as a public corporation, are the very ones that violate that law every day to the tunes of trillions of dollars.
Yeah, can't do their books themselves. Tell me about Venezuela and Maduro. We as the United States, of course, I'm talking Jim Pfaff with the Conservative Caucus. Is the United States, of course, we're doing the drug boats. Are we going to take some action against the land of Venezuela?
I hope not, because there's no authorization for Donald Trump to do that. I have been supportive of the obliteration of these boats out in international waters. The reason is they aren't acts of war. These are private actors who are not under government authority. I mean, if they were military members, that would be a problem, and that would violate the laws of war. But we've got people moving illicit drugs through international waters. I have been, not reluctantly, but somewhat hesentantly, 100% behind that.
Hesitantly 100%.
Yeah, hesitantly 100%. But if you're going to go and either through the CIA clandestinely or with military action on the ground in Venezuela, do something to take out Maduro, there's no constitutional authority for that. And I can't be supportive of that. I'm supportive of Donald Trump, and I do know what he's trying to do. But see, every good intention leads to something really bad. Just look at the Iran and the Iraq war. I mean, the Iraq and the Afghanistan wars under the Bush administration.
Well, there's a history of executive action and military use without congressional authority. It goes back to Thomas Jefferson and the Barbary Pirates. So I'm not sure you need congressional action for every military activity involving land strikes, shall we say.
Well, the Thomas Jefferson situation is a very interesting one because ultimately he did get congressional approval.
Yes, he did, but it was after the fact.
But the way he got it was through letters of marque and reprisal, which is specifically laid out in the Constitution as a means of under. So what those letters of marque do is authorize at that time, merchant ships that had weaponry on it to take action on behalf of the government or authorized by the government to take action on those who were causing these problems. I mean, Jefferson really did get authority for that. That is a fact. That is a bit different situation than what this would be.
It was popular.
And now
I said his actions were popular, and the Congress gave him authority after he used the Navy and the Marines to gain the effects he wanted.
Well, that's true, but again, they did have letters of marque and reprisal for this. Now, because a lot of people aren't going to know that history well, we don't have time to go into it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's move forward to today. We did have a War Powers Act that was passed, I think in 1974 it was, that sets a few guidelines related to this. So far in the Maduro situation, I'm not sure that I see the authorization that would allow him to do that. But just like with the Jefferson situation, where it certainly was a popular thing, by the way, it was made popular. No one knew about it. Not too many people knew about it because it was trade that was happening over in the Mediterranean that people weren't seeing every day. But nonetheless, it was popular. And I do think that there might be a very popular reason to get the approval of Congress to do this if Donald Trump would go and seek it. He could do letters of marque and reprisal as well, too, by the way, as a means to expand the current efforts that are taking place. There are a lot of ways to address this. What I do know is this. When presidents use popular support to go ahead and take on wars that weren't authorized by Congress, it causes trouble every single time. and I mean, Vietnam is that way. We didn't have declarations of war in either Vietnam or Korea, for example. And we did not have, we had authorizations of military force in Korea and with Iraq and Afghanistan. But they were not clear declarations of war against those countries. And every one of those military actions, except for the slight difference of Korea, were really problematic at the end.
I don't think we had a
Jim, I'm running out of time, my friend.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time. And of course, Jim Pfaff, the Conservative Caucus. And that's also your website, The Conservative Caucus.
TheConservativeCaucus.com.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Take care. Bye-bye. And I have to take a break. We'll be right back.
Well, it's all fun and games until you're stuck with bad internet. Not so much fun. Say goodbye to bad internet. Say hello to local support from a company that believes in better. Say goodbye to the spinning wheel of doom and the regular equipment rebooting. And say hello to a hassle-free experience. Say goodbye to the internet struggles of yesterday and say hello to a provider that picks our community and provides a product and service that's locally rooted right here in our hometown. Find out more at allofiber.com. That's allofiber.com.
Hello, my name is Denise Coronado, Director of Volunteer Services. Hospice of Yuma is thrilled to be the first hospice organization in Yuma County and one of 9 in the state of Arizona to achieve the Level 5 We Honor Veteran status. This honor reflects years of dedicated efforts by staff and volunteers to meet veterans' needs. We're committed to providing the highest level of care and support to veterans and their families. To become a Vet-to-Vet volunteer or for more information about Hospice of Yuma services, please call our office at 928-343-2222 or visit our website at hospiceofyuma.com.
Hey, I'm 560 KBLU. Russ Clark with you. Dean's here.
Glad
Although we
here.
don't have time, Dean. It's 1 minute to the top of the hour. We got to get, see, even the dog knows.
Yeah.
We're close to the top of the hour. Got to go. But we have another hour to go.
Right.
I don't have any calling guests, but I want to discuss some of the stuff that we picked up from Jim Pfaff. And I got a few more issues I'd like to get to. But we'll be back after the top of the hour news, AM 560 KBLU.
America, great again. So get on that Trump train, or ride proudly with him. He'll stand up for you, and the red, white, and blue. Yeah, get on that Trump train and say amen. He'll make America. This is News Talk 360 KBLU, Yuma.
Washington Putin talking at midnight Moscow time on a plan the U.S. broke. Secretary of State Marco Rubio tells Fox News we can't end the war between Russia and Ukraine without talking to Russia. Right. You also have to take into account the Ukrainian position. They've been very brave in how they fought. This hour, Hamas plans to hand over all remains to Israel to finish complying with the ceasefire that halted the war caused. And the day after a body return was a disappointment.
Hamas won another weapons lie by claiming they were releasing one of our final two hostages in captivity. Instead, the findings that we received were not linked to any of our deceased hostages at all.
The Israeli spokesperson shows Georgia. A manhunt is over in Georgia for an escaped prisoner. Timothy Shane was captured overnight. He fled a hospital early Monday while being treated after a suicide attempt in jail. Ran off, stole an SUV, crashed it in downtown Atlanta, and ran again, believed it was a handgun taken from the SUV. He was seen stealing another car at some point, acquiring clothes, shoes, abandoning that car in a supermarket parking lot, then taking it over to a home where police did not find him. Shane was caught after being seen knocking on doors in Covington, Georgia, about an hour away from the initial escape. That's Chris Foster. Americans listening to Fox News. Meet Bob. He's 63 years old. He spent 40 years as a body man and car painter. Bob heard me talking about Relief Factor and decided, give it a shot. Bob wrote in, he said, Glenn, I could barely walk. I couldn't make it up the stairs. Day 4 or 5, I began to feel the change. But after just 8 days on Relief Factor, I'm 75% better. I'm comfortable, and I'm thoroughly impressed. These are the kinds of transformations that are common with Relief Factor. In fact, 2 out of the 3 people who try it go on to order more month after month. I'm one of those people. I wasn't banging on cars all day like Bob. My pain was in my hands and debilitating nonetheless. I couldn't paint, I couldn't write, quickly losing hope, and I feared the rest of my life I just have to live with the pain. So if you're living with daily aches and pains, Relief Factor might be the real deal for you. Try the 3-week quick start today. It's only $19.95. See how it works for you. Visit relieffactor.com or call 800-4-RELIEF. 800-4-RELIEF.
On the News 11 Information Desk, I'm Gisela Aguilera. The Yuma Fire Department responded to a fire that burned down a trailer. The fire happened on 2nd Street near Avenue A, in the backseat of someone's home. YFC says there was one person home, but they were not injured. After extinguishing the fire, they were able to confirm that the trailer did burn down. YFC says the cause of the fire is still under investigation. Plus, the Farm Film Festival is in downtown Yuma. The festival is set to highlight Yuma's massive impact on the world's agricultural landscape. People will be able to learn more about the technology and this driving economic industry. It will also show how Yuma supplies over 90% of America's leafy greens during the winter months and other important statistics. The festival will take place on Thursday, December 11th at the historic Yuma Downtown Theater. Catch us on the TV Saturday News 11 every weekday at 5, 6, and 10 p.m. for your latest local news, weather, and sports.
There's a man in D.C.
AM 560 KBLU, Russ Clark with you. Dean's here.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, I think we talked too much off air, so.
Well, we were talking about presidential use of military power and how there are other situations where it happened, such as in the Panamanian invasion. I don't believe that there was a declaration of war.
And Grenada.
And in Grenada. And then there are all the Banana Republic Wars that happened back in the 1800s up into the early 30s. I mean, early 1900s. So I think there's more examples than Jim mentioned.
And of course, we're talking about Venezuela, the possibility that there might be a land attack or something, and the rhetoric and saber rattling coming from the administration, sending out.
Yeah, but I don't think we're going to do any kind of land invasion. I think this is deliberate pressure being put on Maduro to get him to leave office because so much of the world understands that they stole the last election, and it was by massive amounts because it was believed that about 60% voted for the opposition.
And but we didn't invade Iran either recently, but we took out strategic elements. And I mean, nobody. If there's anybody that has an idea what possible plans are, then of course that's not been leaked and it's not out there, so we don't.
Correct. And that's part of the pressure.
We just know there's so much hardware out there.
There is. I mean, you've got the aircraft carrier, I think the Gerald Ford, and it's it's our largest aircraft and newest, best aircraft carrier with all the carrier group around it.
Right.
There's a huge amount of military force in the area available to the U.S.
There are also Marines out there on nearby, as well as planes, B-52s, B-2s. They've all flown over at one time, or not flown over Venezuela. They've flown in airspace just outside.
Right, and I don't know if there's been any flyovers of Venezuela at all. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some activity in that regard. But I really wonder how much Maduro's allies, such as Russia, Iran, China, Brazil, actually trust him.
They don't.
Because he's not proven trustworthy to other people. So I read, for example, that Russian tourists are being told to leave Venezuela.
Yeah.
It's an indicator that pressure is being applied.
Well, and and they see something maybe we don't, or being told things we're not.
There might even, who knows? There might be some type of an agreement.
But Rubio's pretty strong and pretty solid that we can't trust Maduro even to make a deal.
Exactly.
Can't make a deal with
it. Because it's been reported that he's backtracked on previous deals.
Yeah, Rubio's given examples that I didn't even know about.
Right.
I didn't know we did those things, but we'll see where it goes. I mean, I thought we would have known by now because a lot of the commentaries, which they don't know either, think it was going to happen last weekend or something.
That I would say that that aircraft carrier group could stay there easily for several months.
Well,
so it doesn't have to happen right away. And a lot of the times these things take a certain amount of time to percolate. I would not be surprised if there was some kind of a coup against Maduro, or if he would just abdicate and the opposition, which is substantial,
these guys
takes over.
all prepare for coups. I mean,
of course they do.
They've got people on the street. They've got secret police. They've got military.
Well, that's true, and they also have Panamanian or Swiss or Cayman Island bank accounts with a lot of money in them. In the case they have to flee.
Yeah, coups would be tough in all these places. They do happen, but they're not easy. These guys probably got in by coup, so
well, they did. I mean, essentially, Hugo Chavez had a coup, and then he changed the policy at the Supreme Court and how elections were done, and he was elected. And then he died, and his successor, Maduro, has not been nearly as popular. And conditions in Venezuela have gotten worse and worse over time. So the possibility of regime change, I think, is very serious there. I think most of the people in Venezuela believe that the last election was legitimately won by the opposition. That's not a good thing for a regime that is having less and less money to work with.
I want to mention something about this Tennessee election that we didn't really talk in great depth with Jim Pfaff.
Right.
With the Conservative Union, but I found his, I asked him to pick the topic, and that's the first thing he went to.
Right.
But it's current, it's new, so it makes sense. The fact that the Republican won by 9 or 10 points in a district that Trump won by 22 they're making a lot of hay out of that on the Democrat side. That we didn't lose as badly as we should have lost. But okay. And I understand that's a ridiculous talking point, but I'd like to look at it. Is it really a trend? I mean, if everything swings 10 points, then we're in trouble. And I don't know. Jim seems to want to blow it off immediately. That's why he won't get out there and says it meant nothing. I think it's something I'd like to look more closely at versus nothing.
Do you have any numbers for what the last midterm was decided in that election?
I don't. I just know during the presidential election, which Jim points out is a different animal.
Right.
It is a different animal. But his the previous Mark Green, who's a representative there, that the reason it's a special election is because he resigned to do other things, and he always won by 20 points.
Oh.
Yeah. So what that was, he didn't win in the special election. So I think it's worth looking at, and of course the Democratic National Committee with the chair Ken Martin is making a lot of hay about it. That this is a sign that the Republicans are done, type stuff.
Sure, and that's his job.
Yeah.
His job is to try to make Democrats look as good and powerful as they can,
And we need
and denigrate the other side.
We need to take that all into account,
right?
Of course, but I think we also need to look at exactly what this. Let's see, was it Afton Ben, the lady that ran against him? She ran on something very simple, other than she hated Tennessee.
Okay.
That's kind of weird, but she had written op-eds and things about how much she hates Tennessee.
I think so. I've read some of that. Yes.
Yeah, but I guess that didn't stop people from voting for her. But she ran, and in fact, she said she's running on a very simple message of addressing the affordability crisis that Tennesseans are facing. And that's exactly what they did. The Mandani did.
Right.
Rent, food, and they're putting it on Trump's neck that the inflationary aspect of the food and things is under his control and his deal. Now, food inflation did not go to zero.
Right.
But under Biden, it was near double digits.
Yes.
Or was double digits in some cases. And under Trump, it is the brakes have been put on, but of course it hasn't stopped. Beyond reasonable. And I think inflationary, they look at 2% as something acceptable, and we're almost like 3,
2.5, 2.7, something like that.
Yeah. So, but the picture is not as bleak as it looks. It looks like we're heading in the right direction. Things are working, and I think. But if they're not feeling it in the street because of the propaganda that food's higher and it's Trump's fault, and
Right.
presidents are going to get the responsibility of everything that happens unless you're a Democrat.
Well,
regardless of
and
whether
that all is
you
a
created it.
function of how much media is controlled on this.
What does a Republican message have to be that's not going to be slick and make sense, other than it's coming, something like that? Or was really look at Biden compared to Trump. I mean, he's really slowed it down, and it's just a start. He hasn't even been in a year yet.
Well, I think one of the biggest is that energy prices are coming down.
Yeah, but they're not where they need to be.
Well, as energy prices are reduced, everything gets cheaper because so much of what we produce depends on energy, one form or another.
Everybody's going to agree to that when they happen. And what the Democrats are saying, they can make it happen fast. Of course,
they did everything exactly the opposite.
Exactly. But it doesn't seem to matter in the streets. I mean, people are buying it.
Maybe.
Some.
I think it's a certain segments of the population buy into it and others don't.
Yeah, but the Mandani thing was bought by many people very strongly. Like he's going to do rent freeze, which we know doesn't work. But,
Sure.
But to tell them it's not going to work.
And it's also one of the most heavily leftist policies in the whole country.
Yeah. But the fact they even believed it is shocking to me.
They've been taught it probably since grade school.
Open a government grocery store? Really?
Well, the government controls everything and they can give you stuff for free.
Yeah.
That's not true.
No. But I don't know where it's going, and I don't know what the strategy for Trump is going to be. And there's been, there was a push to say that Trump is spending too much time on foreign policy. And look, if he's really stopped with 7 or 8 wars, he's working on Ukraine, Russia, and that thing looks like it's getting more critical all the time, critical to the point where it has to stop. But I don't know what that means. It's critical means it can go on for another 2 years. I don't know.
The problem is you can't separate foreign policy from domestic policy because the more peace you promote around the world, the less we have to spend.
I don't disagree, but what we highlight and what he highlights is an administration, his accomplishments and stuff. I think it needs to be focused back on
I agree so. And I think it's going to come that way.
I get the impression that they understand that. And this National Guard murder that happened was a
terrorist attack, I'd call it.
Yeah, it was something that really seemed to rattle the Trump administration to make major steps. I mean, they immediately after that made major steps to say, we're shutting down immigration. We're not just going to slow it down.
I think that those steps are popular.
Yeah, but but their messaging came back to that,
Right.
and I think it needs to be, particularly going into the midterms.
Well, they've tied this directly also to the Somali fraud situation
Correct.
in Minnesota. And it's a reasonable case to make, is that we've brought into the country lots of people that are not well vetted, that don't have our values, that are not assimilating, and cause considerable damage to the country.
Well, how come Mayorkas doesn't go on the talk show and tell everybody, "No, we got it," because he didn't. He knows he did. I mean, vetting changed its understanding to, I asked him his name. That's not vetting.
No.
Vetting, in my mind, would be doing more of a background check.
Exactly. And frankly, from a lot of the countries that Trump has said we're going to stop immigration from, there's no practical vetting because the governments in those situations don't have good control over the country.
There were 5 countries in his first term that absolutely refused to give the information at all that they have to
Right.
the government. And Trump said, "Okay, we're not going to take from those countries." And he got called a Islamophobe because they happen to be all Islamic countries.
Well, I think the Islamophobe label is becoming kind of like the racist label. It doesn't have much power anymore.
Yeah, and we need to do those practical things. I see him stepping it up on the immigration, but he needs to focus that we're stepping it up to save the taxpayers. We're stepping it up to stop the crime. I mean, we make it all about domestic and what it's doing for the domestic.
And all those are valid points that I think can be pushed.
Oh yeah, and they're smart enough to do that. They're already, I think, hitting that direction.
Right.
But he would the deal about Russia conversation, the Venezuela conversation, while important issues and they need to be handled, and Trump wants to wrap it all up. So none of that's going on next year.
Well,
I understand that's what he wants to do. I don't know if that'll happen.
Yeah, if you get a regime change in Venezuela, which I'm not saying it'll happen right away or when, and you get competent people in the Venezuelan oil industry again, they can increase Venezuelan oil production, and that'll bring energy prices down.
Yeah, but I don't think we buy anything from Venezuela, do we?
Yeah, but
It's
energy
been
is
off
kind of
and on.
fungible. You know, if you squeeze energy and push it to China, that means China doesn't buy energy from somewhere
Okay,
else.
I understand that.
So,
Yeah, I remember having the energy conversation with people before Trump was elected the first time, because Trump's idea was to stabilize energy prices. And people would say, "Well, it's impossible to stabilize
Yeah,
energy
right.
prices. It's impossible because it's a big world and we don't control it and all that kind of stuff." But I bought into it. I said, "Look, if we really went after energy like we thought, we would stabilize it like we do wheat prices or pork belly and other stuff like that. There's so much of it that the prices get more stable."
well, I think Trump was actually bringing the prices down,
Of course, he was.
and that's a
Well,
little
bring it
different
down
than
and
stabilizing.
well, bringing it down, but stabilizing so that the oil cartels didn't have the power
Right.
to artificially
And we're the
raise it and
biggest
that kind of stuff.
producer of energy in the world now
Yes, we are.
because of Trump's policies.
And now that Biden's gone, he reopened the doors of exploration,
Yes.
drilling, and all that. But that doesn't take effect right away, except emotionally
It
it
takes
does.
a while to take effect.
And I
Correct.
think our competitors in those industries start producing more because of it, and because they know they can't fight that, and they've got an opportunity to sell right now. Why we aren't in full swing yet.
Right. I mean, I would argue, I think it's a very good argument, that you can measure the level of a civilization by how cheap the energy is within the civilization. The cheaper energy is, the more civilization you have. And that's simply because there's more of everything to go around to everybody. You can afford more policing, you can afford a court system, you can afford a welfare system if you choose it.
But we've got problems that I don't know he can fix right now with electricity and stuff. Electricity prices have gone crazy. They
Yes,
continue to creep up.
and a lot of that is from these really insane clean energy policies.
Yes.
That
Agreed.
I mean, it's
But to blame it on that isn't going to help him.
no, but he's reversing those policies, and it's going to take a while to take effect. But I think we're seeing some effects.
Yes, but will it be enough?
Well, that's
to
the question.
appease? the people that are paying their electric bills, particularly in the north right now, where we've got the cold snap coming. I mean, it's going to hit.
Sure. I mean, it's
And
going to
they're
be
gonna feel it.
particularly bad in New York and New Jersey, where they, because of their energy policies, electricity prices, I think, have doubled.
I've heard some numbers like that in some of the states. I don't, and Arizona's got them quite a
Yes.
bit, but
And we're going to see gas prices go up more here because Governor Newsom's policies are driving refineries out of California.
right.
And mostly we get our gas and diesel from California right now, and those prices are going to go up. Now,
So-
maybe there'll be another way to get it. We might get it from, through New Mexico from Texas or something, but there'll be a period of adjustment. And during that period, prices are going to go up and they
Well,
may
and
continue.
it'll be a transportation cost because they'll have to
Yes.
get it from something
Yes, exactly. So,
more remote or whatever. But I like the the Trump wanting to go for energy and all that, but I don't know that it can happen fast enough for next November election
Well,
the way we feel it.
yeah. But I think part of the way it has an effect is to educate people about it. I think people understand that if you produce more and cheaper energy, everything gets better. Most people understand that. I mean, this fantasy that's been put out there that solar or wind is the cheapest way to produce energy
No.
is just been a fantasy. Now you can find numbers that when the wind is blowing at a certain speed, a wind turbine produces energy cheaper than, say, a oil-fired plant. But that doesn't take into account that you have to have that oil-fired plant or a nuclear plant or some other plant that can produce reliable energy when the wind isn't blowing. So you still have to produce that plant and have it available, even if you're not using it all the
I
time.
think everybody recognizes the cheapest energy by far is nuclear. I mean, period.
I think so. I think that's coming back, and it's really a good thing. I think that nuclear shows us that even if we completely run out of oil and gas, which might happen in a couple hundred years, or at least it get very expensive, nuclear could replace it.
No, I had Ted call in yesterday and talked about one of those mini nuclear plants, the small ones.
Yes, I mean,
Which-
they're fascinating.
We don't have any in the United States, to my knowledge, at this point.
They're-
He was telling me that they've got some permit thing they're working on in Tennessee to have some of those placed out in Tennessee. And
Right.
my understanding that would be tremendously cheaper than
And they're distributed.
Mm.
It's not like having only one big nuclear plant per state
all
or
over.
two. You'd have one of these small nuclear plants for every couple 100,000 people.
But that means one small one in Yuma could probably take care of all Yuma, which there's a lot less loss from line transfer.
Well, not only that, but it makes it a distributed system, which is much harder to shut down.
Yeah.
So it's a much more defendable system, and it makes the U.S. more secure in ways beyond just the energy and energy cost. It means that somebody attacking us would have a much harder time.
Well, Tim Dunn, our Senator Tim Dunn, texted me because he heard the conversation and said that he has personally gone to some of the manufacturers, some of the people, and some of the regulatory agencies, and Arizona's working on that.
Good.
I don't know about for this area, but Arizona's working on it.
It's a very positive way to go. It's some of the cheapest and cleanest energy you can get.
But if we could put a few of those in the ground going on, early next year, I think that's going to tremendously help the outlook of things, even if it doesn't hit us.
So, I mean, even at the tremendous speed of the Trump administration, it's maybe possible. I mean, there's so much regulatory burden to overcome.
So tell me how many cabinet meetings has Trump had since he's been in president,
I think you said 8.
That's 9. He just had his 9th one yesterday.
9th one, okay.
Which is kind of amazing.
Well, he hasn't been in office for a year yet.
No.
Okay, it's 10 months, I think. January, he took office January 20th of this year. So he's got about a month and a half left to go. For 1 year, he's done amazing things in his first year.
Yeah, but has he won the hearts of more people than voted him in?
Well,
that's the question.
It's a question.
And it's going to make a difference next November.
Well, I think it's extremely important, and I think it's something that I want to stress all the time, is these midterms are extraordinarily important, because it won't be just that we get Democrats who want a different view on working on things. We'll get Democrats, if the Democrats say take the House, that will just say we're going to stop everything because Trump's in power. We'll do nothing but investigate.
I say as you one more, but it's not like there's urgency. If you look at some of the polls and stuff that's out there, his popularity is ranking higher than other presidents during this time.
Trump's popularity is, but we need to translate that
Trump's not
into
going to be on the ballot.
midterm election.
Right. But if his popularity goes, I mean, that does eat the coattails.
Right.
Generally on that. We'll see. But one of the things I saw, one of the something like 63% of the people or something says that Trump's talk of successes are greater than reality.
Well, Trump is, I think he has a deserved reputation of being hyperbolic and a great salesman, but that's what he is. And I think everybody can factor that in.
Yeah. I didn't know how to take that.
It's kind of like Elon Musk saying he's going to have an autonomous vehicle in the next 6 months, and then it takes 18 months to happen.
But it happens.
Yeah.
And he's got the right direction. Let me take a break, and I'll be back. I won't talk about Elon Musk since you brought him up. AM 560.
Sunny skies today, high of 70 this afternoon, 10 to 15 mile per hour winds, gusty to 20 at times today. Partly cloudy at 49 tonight, sunny at 69 on Thursday, 10 to 15 mile per hour winds again out of the north, 42 and mostly clear tomorrow night.
At Exceptional Community Hospital, we are redefining what emergency care should feel like. Fast, personal, and compassionate. Our experienced ER physicians and staff are here 24/7 to care for your unexpected illness or injury. Don't wait for emergency care when you can be seen in minutes. With short wait times, you'll get the prompt attention you need because every minute matters. And if your recovery takes longer, we provide the inpatient care you deserve. Exceptional Community Hospital. Compassionate care. Exceptional service.
It's pajama time, Yuma. Join Eldorado Broadcasters and Avenir Financial for DJs for PJs, collecting new, unused, warm pajamas for families in need. Now through December 14th, drop off donations at our radio station at 755 West 28th Street, Avenir Financial on South 1st Avenue and North Frontage Road in the foothills, and any local Little Caesars Pizza. Let's keep Yuma warm this holiday season.
There's a man in D.C. He stands 6'3". He's fighting.
AM 560 KPLU. Russ Clark with you. Dean's here.
Glad to be here.
Elon Musk. Interesting character.
I think he's an incredible genius, the genius of our age.
Yeah. He got a lot more notice when he was working with the Trump administration. Some of that notice was like rocks thrown at his car.
Yeah, right. Let's burn up Teslas.
See that for what it is. But brilliant move, I think, for Musk and Trump both. To do that. But then the friendship blew up.
Well, it had a rough spot.
And I was told by people that probably knew that it was show to create some distance for whatever reason.
Well, I wondered about that.
Yeah, it was show because they were burning Teslas and all that, and he had to get back to focusing on his business. But I don't know how much truth is in all that. That's but it makes sense. But it seems like the two have made up a little bit. And I'll talk about that after the phone call. You're on the air.
Morning, sir. How you doing?
Ted, good morning.
Dean, how you doing?
Doing great.
Elon had to move to Texas. He had to get out of California and he had to move back out to Texas and set up his operation there.
I thought it was a smart move.
Yeah, that's all.
Well, but I mean, his blow up with Trump was a little more severe than just making a move. There was a lot of name calling back and forth and a lot of anger, or appeared to be anger, or good acting. I'm not sure.
Hey, they're big businessmen. They know how that rolls.
Yeah. But when the big beautiful bill came out, Musk was not short on words on condemning the big beautiful bill. He said it's the biggest debt ceiling increase in history, and he said the real, and he's made a personal attack on Trump, saying that real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. You know,
you can't always get what you want, but you get what you get.
There you go. But I thought, wow, that's a stage thing to start doing that kind of personal attack.
Well, when you look at what happened with Epstein, and now that things are coming out, and who's being hurt the most, it's Democrats.
Right. But of course, they wanted to see the Epstein files because they knew it had Trump in it, which it doesn't really. I mean, he's mentioned as an enemy of
yeah. So you have to ask, when Elon brought that up, was he fueling Democrat motives to bring up Epstein more?
Maybe, but that's a game I don't understand completely.
This is what we did with the Nixon campaign.
What?
We infiltrated the Democratic campaign and tried to help them in a sense. Tried to get the worst candidate they could possibly get, and we steered it towards that candidate, knowing that they were morons and had no chance. But we had to make sure that candidate got put against Nixon.
Yeah,
that's all you have to do.
Well, it seems like that was played on us with Romney.
The Democrats are not smart. They're easily fooled. Magicians work well against them. Sleight of hand. That's all you have to do. Find the right candidate to back on their side, push them a little bit, get them going, and the Republicans win.
We need more Republicans to win because I like the direction the country's going, but we're not there yet where we all feel it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We have to make it through the midterms.
Yeah, we have to make it.
I think they should go around. The Republicans should go around every state and find candidates like Babe and run and get her run on the Democratic ticket.
I think they're doing that.
That's all you get there.
I don't think we do that, do we?
Well, I guess I'm saying that the Democrats are doing it pretty well themselves.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're finding those candidates themselves.
You got to help your country, man. You know, that's what it's about. You know.
Yeah.
But
all right.
Yeah, I'm hoping my reactor out here in the front yard doesn't.
It's not there yet. We'll get there.
I just don't want it. I just don't want it to go burn out. You know, burn. It's a long way from here to China.
All right, buddy. I'll let you go. Take care, man.
All right, guys. Bye.
Of course, Ted wants a nuclear reactor.
I want one too.
Oh,
but
you do?
I don't think I can afford one.
Well, when would they make one small enough for like a house generator?
I don't know.
Is that possible?
The ones they're talking about that I'm reading about are about the size of a large semi truck, and then you move them on a semi. You can actually move them with a semi.
They bury them.
You bury them in place, and then when the fuel is near spent or when you need to refurbish it, you just take the whole thing and ship it back to the factory, and they refurbish it.
And it's all pretty much no one needs to get in and do it on the site or anything. It just
right. Well, you know, you make the site so that it's underground, and you can't just have somebody come in and drive off with it. You know, it's a serious installation, and it probably has at least a couple of people. You know, probably have shifts monitoring it.
Really, that would have to be monitored.
Well, any time you have electricity production, there's always things that can go wrong, even if someone just a fuse or a lightning strike or whatever that people have to deal with. I mean, just if you the product, let's say the distribution system goes down in one area, you have to balance that. And now we may be getting closer to where we can do that with AI or something.
I would think that would be
at least,
remote, though.
you know, even 10 or 15 years ago, humans had to do it. It couldn't be done automatic.
Yeah. I have no idea what the technology is, but we've been putting these small nuclear reactors on ships for many years.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
submarines. Yeah, and they seem to be robust and work pretty well.
Right. I mean,
Sometimes they don't need refueling for 50 years.
Yeah, there's some differences. You know, on ships, you have all the ocean to get cooling water from.
Yeah, that helps probably.
So if you're on the coast, maybe it'd be the same. But they have learned. I mean, the people who are building nuclear reactors for power generation have learned over the last 75 years what works, what doesn't, and ways to do it very safely. And I think that institutional knowledge is now being used with these small nuclear installations that produce power. And the Trump administration is pushing to go forward with that. And I first started hearing about these before the first Trump administration. But, they've learned a lot in the last, say, 15 years. I would say.
Get back to Elon Musk a little bit. President Trump says he still likes Elon Musk. That just came up apparently yesterday in the cabinet meeting. Edward Lawrence asked him whether Musk was back in his circle of friends after the falling out. I think that's a great question. He said, "Well, I really don't know. I mean, I like Elon a lot." But this article says that the breakup happened because of a disagreement over electric vehicle policy, which and that policy being the rebates and all that stuff, the tax incentives.
I've heard people make the argument. I have no idea if it's true or not.
I don't know if it's true. I mean, Elon Musk is on the record saying many times he doesn't need the rebates. In fact, if anything, it helps his competitors.
Well, and that's what I was thinking. Is that I think it makes him more competitive, and he was already at the top.
And still is.
Yes.
After he was working with Doge and all that, people started, attacking Tesla cars, which a lot of them got arrested. The cars have cameras. Don't do that. they'll know who you are. But sales went down, which is rare for Tesla that they
Right.
But after that, they had record sales. I mean, he went back in May and record sales. He became a $500 trillionaire, $500 billion in net worth. His stock all came back. All that stuff.
And I think it was Tesla that just finalized a deal with him that if he meets some very stringent requirements in terms of increasing sales and his robotics becoming available, his humanoid type robotics, that he'll get roughly another $500 billion.
Another trillion.
Okay, but that will only happen if he makes the shareholders rich.
And the reason he wants the money is because he wants to own enough Tesla shares that nobody can ever do a coup and take it from him. See, right now they've sold off shares over the years to create the cash in order to run the business.
Oh, and he has that. He has operational control, and it's not SpaceX is not a public company.
No.
And I think that's the same for Starlink. And then there's a couple others that I'm trying to remember right now, but he's got like 5 major.
He stated before all the stuff that he's implementing now with the robotics and this and all that is part of Tesla, but he doesn't get anything for it, or will not reap the benefits for it. He could open up another business or something, but his fear is he puts all this stuff, all of his ideas and all his things into the Tesla where he doesn't have a controlling share comfortable enough.
Right. And he's had experience. I think it was like at PayPal before it was PayPal or whatever, that he had some ideas that would have made it even a bigger success, but because he didn't have control, he could not put them into effect.
Yeah. Well, and I know that there was a big deal where they wanted to give him a bonus to Tesla board of directors, give him a bonus, and a Delaware judge stopped it.
Yeah, that was
Remember
amazing to me. It was a private contractual deal, and the judge says, "Oh no, you can't do it."
Can't do it. Yeah, because we think it's too much money for anyone to have.
Yeah, that's kind of the argument.
Kind of crazy. I don't know where that ended up, but
yeah, I don't recall, which probably means that Elon had some success against the suit, because if it was failed, it would have been big news.
Well, they're incorporated in the state of Delaware, which is not unusual. Delaware used to have half the corporations in the entire country.
They tend to have favorable corporate statutes.
Right. And you don't have to be a resident of Delaware to do that. Just have to have a lawyer who can hold the paperwork for you.
Right.
That's about it. Have you heard of the FAXX airplane?
That sounds like I might have
heard
heard of it in passing.
I'm reading an article here. It says there's hidden hangars that have these planes already ready to go, and that may be true. Do you remember the F-117?
Yes,
it came on the forefront at war. Desert Storm.
Well, and we have these black programs. We had them
Yeah.
out at YPG.
Yeah.
The F-117 actually did some testing out at YPG. My understanding, they were in special hangars. It was a strict need to know. I'm sure they used some of the data we collected to support the program, but we didn't know what it was. So yes, a lot of things, especially military items, are kept as very tightly guarded secrets.
Well, according to this article, FAXX, or it's a fighter attack experimental, and that's a Navy. It's designed to be a Navy plane. It's ready to go, and both Boeing and Northrop Grumman have flown test planes, and the prototypes are waiting in the wings, and they're discrete guarded hangars in most likely Missouri or Florida.
Yeah, it could be.
Who knows?
I would say Nevada is also a possibility.
But I would think Nevada would be the easiest. Groom Lake area and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
right.
Be the best. Maybe they're just trying to distract us.
Could be, put out information, get you looking the wrong way.
But the Pentagon apparently hasn't made a purchase decision yet.
Well, there's reasons for that. We are in intense technological change.
Yes.
And we're looking at the Ukraine war, and we're seeing that drones are extremely important in that war.
Correct.
And so do we want to buy a concept that was developed before drones became so important?
Well, according to this article, Congress wants Navy planes so much they added $1 billion to the budget to accelerate it.
Well,
and this plane is apparently drone capable. In other words, it's going to have escort drones.
I do not know enough about the program to intelligently say whether this is good
I don't
or
know
bad.
if the person who wrote this article does, but I find it interesting. Representative Ken Cavler, a Republican out of California, said that the U.S. Navy needs sixth generation fighters. I'm concerned that any hesitancy on our part to proceed with the planned procurement of the 6th-gen fighters for the Navy will leave us dangerously outmatched in China fight. They're concerned about China. Now, we still have the F-35. It's not up to full strength. It's still building the F-35.
Right.
We're still probably wringing them out a little bit. But for them to do a fighter program and to sign off on it, it's going to take a long time for the first one to hit the ground anyway.
Yes.
But they say they're ready to go, and I think they mean ready to go like it's designed, it's tested.
Yeah, maybe ready to do some testing
I have
and
no idea.
prototypes.
But right now, the Navy counts on the FA-18EF, that's electronic stuff, which did amazing things in Iraq or Iran recently, and
Right.
they're a forefront. Why didn't they mention the F-35? They've got the
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that it wasn't mentioned because, the question is, would you maybe take money from that program, put it in a different program? And you mentioned China, and I think China is our most formidable antagonist at the moment.
Yeah.
But I read something the other day where people are questioning whether the Chinese population figures are accurate or not. And there have been a number of different academics that have looked at it and said, we think China is not 1.4 billion, it may be less than a billion.
Well, they had the one child per family program for quite a while.
And this is what it's based on. They look at the Chinese published fertility levels at the time, and then they do the calculations to what that would mean at a present day population, and they come up with the idea that China is overstating their population by as much as 30 or more percent.
Well, but they've been spending tons of money on military, which was
Yes, they are.
which
No
is
question.
not done normally, and but there's been questions about their readiness.
Well,
troop
exactly.
readiness,
And
their-
China is a pretty closed society. It's hard to get things like population statistics. And I don't know whether this article is correct or not. They claimed that both Japan and Russia had done investigations and had come up with similar figures. Now, how you would know that, I don't know.
Well, this article comes out with 6 things that we need to know about this new secret project. And by the way, the FAXX is the same as the F-47, as much as the
Oh,
F-35.
yes. Yeah, okay, that's where I probably read it. I remember reading
as much as the 35 is the same in Navy
Yeah.
and There's
Okay.
different configurations.
Sure.
The same plane. It's going to be a delta wing.
Okay.
So delta wing looks like the body and the wing are all one. It doesn't
Right.
all that. It's going to give it better stealth shape.
That's what I've read. Yeah.
And it's going to be similar to F-35 as far as cockpit canopy and all that. So it's still got a pilot in it.
Okay.
And it's going to have 1,000-mile range because they don't have that right now.
1,000 miles. That seems slow.
Well, they don't have anything that reaches it now, not since the A6 Intruder and the F-14 Tomcat have left. They don't have a long
Well,
range.
I know that some of our bombers have greater range than that.
Well, I'm talking about Navy planes.
Okay.
Yeah, just in the Navy. Oh, the bombers can go to where you have to have your own sleeping quarters on the plane.
Right.
But they want more range for this, and this would be stealth, which would mean, unlike the F-35, all the armaments would be enclosed inside the body of the plane,
Right.
like the B-2 bomber,
Right.
and stuff like that, which they say is ready to go.
Yeah, it also tend to mean that you would generally not use it during the daytime because it'd be more visually detectable then.
Yeah, but it's going to be an altitude you're not going to see them easily.
Yeah, probably.
You've seen the SR-71, the 117, the B-2. They all are flat black, and there's a coating they put on these things.
Right, and there's supposed to be improvements, which I would expect because all technology is improving.
Well, and that technology, the secret sauce is supposed to be pretty well guarded. Who knows?
Yes.
But they've changed it now. Now it's gray, avian gray, and that's what the B-21 bombers got. Is gray.
Okay.
I guess I didn't notice that, it's in production right now. Let me see. The missiles tucked inside, refueling drones, refueling by drones. I don't know why they put that in there, but it's designed to be refueled by drones. So rather than send the manned tankers, it sends a tanker with drones.
Well, I could see that. Tankers, you don't want them subject to enemy fire, so you're going to be generally not in the middle of a firefight while you're refueling. And our drone capabilities have become really good. And if you don't have the life support systems aboard a tanker that you need for manned crew, you can carry more fuel.
Yeah. Well, they're saying that the Navy's plan is to stock these carriers, these drone refuelers. And they mentioned the MQ-25 Stingray. I don't know what it is, but the planes like that to accompany on its stealth missions. That means to take off and with them and go with them.
That's what it sounds like.
Usually you fly to an area and the tanker meets you halfway or something.
Well, that's right. Or you'll have your refuelers stationed part way to where you're going to go or somewhere so that you don't have to burn up a whole lot of fuel going with the aircraft. But I could see how maybe some missions that would be the way you'd want to do it.
And it says the FAXX will also control, and it's going to control this drone's going to follow it, but it also controls wingman drones in the battle space.
Yeah, okay.
So when this thing takes off, it takes off like a group or something?
Very possibly, yeah.
And I guess whatever the plane targets, the drones could fire the missiles. They're going to be capable of that kind of stuff.
I mean, it's these drones make missions a lot more complicated, but at least some drones, I'm sure, will be carried by the plane to the battle space and then released at the battle space instead of going all the way on their own.
Yeah, complicated, probably. But have you ever flown like a remote control helicopter or anything like that?
I have not.
Well, they're as complex to fly as a real helicopter. I mean, to train them, they put them on tethers and start trying to get you to learn and all that. But then you come up into now what you buy for Christmas is these quad drones or something like that. Any child can jump in it and it just goes. In fact, you can program them, these little drones that you can get for Christmas, to follow you for take pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
And say, okay, keep 10 feet ahead of me and 3 feet behind me and follow me around.
Well, I've been starting to promote the idea that our militia should have drones as much as they have rifles.
Yeah. Probably that information, the drones and all that's it's tremendous. But if they can do all that, and that doesn't really put a workload on the pilot to have a drone follow them.
No, but drones are generally smaller. So you run into logistic problems about the fuel level that they have And so that's why it's a problem if you have drones going with a plane. They don't generally have the fuel capacity. If you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, of course they'll have that all sketch out. I mean, if the
Right.
plane's going,
There are large drones that can go intercontinental.
there's tons of them. And in fact, there's a lot of drones I've seen land on Navy planes, on
Oh,
YouTube
sure.
and stuff that are drones that are full-size planes. And these drones may be full-size planes.
They may be.
And they take off as a group, like a fighter
It's
group.
possible, yeah.
Yeah,
And you could have a drone refueler that refuels a drone too. I'm sure that's possible.
But if they all have 1,000-mile range, that's pretty decent range. And we're talking about taking off from an aircraft carrier. So
Yeah, I'm taking what I'm saying is 1,000, or what I would understand that to mean is that they could go 1,000 miles, have some time in the battle space, and then return.
Well, to me, it meant 500 miles in return.
Yeah, so you would have to look at that and see which definition it means.
But even 500 miles is a long way. I mean, you
It's a
get
pretty good way.
the carrier a lot closer to the target.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, if you're taking off from the fort or something,
Yeah.
You're going to get closer to the target. But I just find that all interesting. It's all speculative, or a lot of it's speculative.
It is.
Although it's being worked on right now.
Correct.
In fact, according to that article, they're flying the prototypes right now.
Yeah, I think that's true.
And I don't trust them when they say it's not done. Heck, for all we know, something breaks out and we get the air filled with them.
Well,
that happened with the 117.
I think you're right. There's a level of military secrecy that's maintained for a reason, and that if your opponent doesn't know what's coming, you have an advantage.
Yeah, but how do we have a squadron of secret planes and nobody knew? I say nobody.
Well,
we didn't.
Only certain people knew.
Yeah, we'll be right back. AM 560.
All right, do-it-yourselfer, you've got the idea, and you got your building supplies at Southwest Lumber. That's right. Now, all you need is a bunch of expensive tools to get the job done.
Oh, that's right.
And just a place to rent them. Southwest Lumber, your home for everything home improvement. Southwest Lumber has half-day to multiple-day rentals available on just about anything you need to finish the job. Rent equipment and tools on Saturday and Sunday. It's free. Stop in today at 1917 South Avenue B in Yuma. Southwest Lumber, ready for everything.
Since 1905, the Yuma County Chamber of Commerce has been the voice for business in Greater Yuma. Want to stay informed about Yuma's business community? The Chamber connects you with local leaders, business and marketing opportunities, and advocacy that ensures Yuma stays a great place for your business to grow and thrive. Serving all of Yuma and Yuma County, including the Kokopah and Quishan nations, the Chamber strengthens partnerships that move our region forward. Be part of Yuma's business network. Call Valeria or Ashley today at 928-782-2567.
Sprague Sports is Yuma's hunting and shooting headquarters, and Sprague's has been serving Yuma hunters and shooters for over 66 years. Today, we're in need of used guns. 1 gun, 10 guns, 100 gun collection, all are welcome and needed. We buy, sell, trade, and consign used guns 6 days a week and offer free appraisal. So stop by or call Sprague Sports today and let the friendly staff surprise you with how much your extra guns may be worth. Sprague sells thousands of used guns yearly and offers an exclusive lifetime warranty on all guns, a $100 value. So pick up the phone, get in the car, whatever it takes. You got used firearms? Sprague's is your place. Who knows what you're sitting on and who knows what it's worth? Let the fine folks at Sprague Sports help you figure it out. Used firearms at Sprague's. Sprague's, Yuma's hunting and shooting headquarters. Responsible gun ownership since 1956. Sprague's, 32nd Street, next to Lowe's.
There's a man in D.C. He stands 6'3".
AM 560 KBL, Eugene's here.
Glad to be here.
I want to talk about Gaza just for a minute. I don't have much time, but I kind of wonder what's going on. The Israelis were in there for 2 years, really.
Right.
Cleaning out tunnels, they've been finding tunnels. As like a week or so ago, they found a major tunnel that they didn't know was there. But they're cleaning them out still, although they're not occupying as much as they were. They've got some area they're
Right.
still in. But this ceasefire, according to this article, has allowed Hamas to regroup, which I think we all saw. They regrouped and took control. They would go back into areas they were not in, take the leaders there and take them in the square and kill them in the square in front of everybody.
Yeah, anybody that they thought was in opposition to them.
Or, in opposition, or help to the traitors or whatever. Oh, I guess that's a good way to take control. Nazis did that during World War II. When they took a town in Ukraine, they took a guillotine. They actually had guillotines. They just pulled right in, chopped the head off of a few leaders, and said, anybody have any questions?
Yeah. Well, it's for it's a technique that's been done throughout history. I mean, certainly we see it all over the ancient history, and you look at like the Mongol hordes in Russia, they did similar things, worse.
Other leaders are popping up other than Hamas now. Shakik Abu's Nasara is one of them, and he says the pause in fighting has become a kiss of life for Hamas, and warned that the group is rebuilding Hamas who works for Iran, which I think we're aware of.
Yes, there's no question that
he
Hamas
says they got weakened. Yes, true, but the ceasefire gave them a kiss of life, and they are now preparing themselves better, trying to equip themselves. They are opening up their own centers. I'd like to thank President Trump. Then see, this is a terrorist guy thinking for Trump, or he's a leader in some small group, freezing their assets of Hamas and labeling the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. Now, this guy, he's a former Palestinian Authority police officer, and he spent 16 years in an Israeli prison. But now he's in there operating a small band of fighters on the eastern side of Gaza's. That's under Israeli military control.
Okay.
And he said, I moved to the East Yellow Line, which they call it, that area where the military is still there, to the area that is now controlled by the Israeli army. I was forced to move because I had no other option but to flee Hamas because they were killing people like him.
Right.
Well, he's in contact with other groups like them. They're trying to band together to push Hamas out and let Palestinians take control instead of Iran.
Right. And Iran clearly was maybe the major supporter of Hamas.
Yeah.
And I think that part of this peace deal is that Hamas is supposed to disarm. So I don't know how low level that gets. Does it mean that Hamas is not supposed to have rifles or grenades or pistols? I don't know. But clearly they have some arms if they're killing people.
But these factions are wanting to get together and move. Pat's talking about power and all that, but he didn't like the idea of it becoming a hotel area or something like that or whatever, but he called it a Disneyland strategy. He wasn't sure about that. But he wants to build up a safe place that gets along with people. He says, as Hamas remains strength under ceasefire, Palestinians are ready and want to fight for a future, insisting that with international backing, a unified alternative can be built. Yeah, it can still be built. I wish him luck.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Horribly dangerous.
Yeah, for what he's doing and speaking. And Hamas is everywhere. I mean, Iran's got a lot of money. They do it. So if I read this article, those guys know who he is.
Oh, that's of course true. But Iran has far less money than it used to have.
But obviously, I think they still have an interest.
Of course. Hamas was a major part of their power structure in the Middle East.
And they're still funding something, I guess.
I'm sure that they're, yes.
At least according to this guy, they're stronger now. The ceasefire, they had to go back and take control for the factions that are left in Hamas. But I'm sure there was some.
And I don't know how strong that is. It's not as strong as it used to be.
We'll find out. We're out of time, but I appreciate you, Dane. I'll see you next week or tonight, or I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll be around.
We'll be seeing each other.
AM 560 KBLU.